and gentlemen, let's go. We ain't got no time to waste. Let's go. You are now listening to Jason Anderson, and you are in the zone.
The Zone is presented by Guaranteed Foods, delivering all natural food to Midwestern families since 1958. Enjoy healthier food, more free time, free delivery, and better value. Go to GuaranteedFoods.com.
All right, a Monday edition of The Zone right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Dylan Michaels, Sterling Holmes hanging out with us on this Monday edition of the show. Just coming in on Mondays, that's what you're planning on doing from now on?
Just vibing, just Mondays. Big Monday guy. The opposite of Garfield.
Everybody's got a case of the Monday. Sterling is here to alleviate that, you know. Got a fever. The only prescription is more Holmes. It's not true.
I don't think so.
That is not true.
I don't think so.
But you get more of them today. We're hanging out here until 2 o'clock. We will talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. KC Sports Network, One Royal Way podcast. We'll talk with him about the Kansas City Royals as they continue to go through spring training and get his thoughts on some of the competitions that are going on there in Arizona. And different things around your Kansas City Royals. We'll do that with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. KSHB 41 Sports Director. Learn Funniest Best. We'll get into with Mick Schaefer coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. 913-912-4810 is the text line to join us. 913-912-4810. Text line to be a part of the show, part of the conversation. We'll get into a lot of NFL talk today, and certainly we'll talk some college basketball. We'll talk some Major League Baseball with Josh Kaiser. We'll get into some rules. We'll get into some MLS. We'll get into some scab officials. We're going to do a lot of different things here throughout the show, and if you want to weigh in again, 913-912-4810. Let's start off with some college basketball. It wasn't the best weekend for the local teams, unfortunately. There was an assumption that one of the three teams would automatically lose over the weekend. That's what took place, knowing that Mizzou was playing, so there was going to be a loss somehow, some way. It's the Bob Ross painting. You already know what it looks like at the end. You just don't know how Bob Ross got there with the bubbling little brooks, the happy little mistakes along the way, the fun
a lot of
trees.
bushes.
Yes, that's right. And they hate it in Brazil. They hate that those paintings. Anyway, Mizzou ends up losing to Ole Miss. It doesn't matter. Just insert team here. Mizzou ends up losing to Ole Miss. Now 0-16 on the season, and in danger of, not even in danger, it's just going to happen that Eli Drinkwitz is going to win more games than Dennis Gates this year for Mizzou. And since December 3rd, Eli Drinkwitz and Dennis Gates both have one win for their respective teams since December 3rd. So there you go. Mizzou beats Arkansas State in basketball on December 30th. Eli Drinkwitz and Mizzou beat Ohio State on December 29th. So the last two Missouri football or basketball wins came in the 2023 calendar year. So we'll see if they end up getting a win over the next two. Probably not. But the two teams that actually have something to play for this year besides just less embarrassment, KU and K-State, they both end up losing, and in different forms, different fashions, and different meaning for the games. The most impactful loss to me was K-State and the late 3-dagger by Cincinnati. And boy, you want to talk about a dagger. That was a dagger for a number of different reasons. One, to the game, and another one to the postseason hopes for K-State. You know, we talked on, I don't remember what the day was. It was last week, but we talked about, we talked on Friday with Ari Timken. That's what it was. We talked on Friday with Ari Timken, Sirius XM College Sports, Big 12 Radio, and just discussed K-State's path to the tournament and how crucial that game was on Saturday against Cincinnati, and needing to win that game. And it wasn't a must-win, but it's a must-win not being a must-win, if you follow the logic there, because KU coming up tomorrow night and then Iowa State on Saturday. They had 3 opportunities for a quad 1 win, and then whatever would have happened in the Big 12 tournament. And I felt like they needed to go 2-1 in these final 3 games and then win a game in the Big 12 tournament. So can they go 3-2? If they went 3-2, and it didn't matter what the wins were, just go 3-2, gives you 2 more quad 1 wins, and then you win a game in the Big 12 tournament. You're not one and done. And then if you win 2 games, then I feel like you're on the inside of the bubble looking out instead of right now they're on the outside looking in. There are 3 phases, stages, areas to the bubble. There's the inside looking out, there's squarely on the bubble, and there's the outside looking in. And K-State, to me, could have gone from the outside looking in to squarely on the bubble to then on the inside looking out, depending on what they did from Saturday to Saturday. And right now they continue to be on the outside looking in. The way they played against Cincinnati, it was a struggle. It was a fight, and that's what you sort of expect with the Cincinnati team. But K-State doing what they could to come back and play that way and then take the lead, 72-71, all for, I don't remember the dude's last name, but curls around the top of the 3 screen, knocks down the shot. I mean, it was a great shot. It's one that if you're K-State, I don't know that I would have hated if they're taking that. I know he's a good 3-point shooter, but that guy, a little bit of a fadeaway, if you want to call it that, away from the basket, getting the ball, and stopping, popping, and knocked it down. And then Tyler Perry loses the ball heading to the basket. I didn't think he was fouled. It looked close. At first, I thought he was fouled. I thought they were going to call a foul, and he was going to go to the free throw line for a couple free throws, but that didn't happen. It went out of bounds, and then ultimately they end up losing that game by 1 point. But it was a dagger because of what it does to the NCAA tournament hopes. It's not a must-win against KU or Iowa State. They got to find a way to win one of them and then win 2 games in the Big 12 tournament to then have something to watch on Sunday, a week from Sunday, I should say. Have something to watch that Sunday after the Big 12 tournament selection Sunday. But, man, if they could have walked out of there with a 72-71 win, it would be a completely different picture now and light for this K-State team this week.
And they had a similar loss to, who was that? TCU. Jameer Nelson's son hit the dagger as well. But then you have 7 wins in overtime.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're unlucky when you have 7 wins in overtime. They've just played in dogfights every single game. I mean, going back up into the loss to Oklahoma, they lost by 20. But every game is within 10 points, was a 10-point victory against BYU, but every other game was a 6-point loss, 6-point victory. Just back and forth. They're always in close games.
Yeah, and unfortunately this one, they end up on the wrong side of the ledger, and they continue to be on the wrong side of the bubble. KU's loss to Baylor was interesting because, man, it felt like they were in position a number of times to take control of that game, and then Baylor took control. It's odd that a KU team throughout the second half, I didn't really feel like they were going to pull it off and win the game. And typically it's KU's going to find a way to win, especially at home, but this one was on the road. I didn't necessarily have that feeling going into the game and certainly in the second half, even with McCullough playing. I'm like, all right, they got McCullough back. Maybe that was a challenge to Kevin McCullough by Bill Self. We may not see him again. And okay, well, and then, they end up seeing him the next game. But McCullough and Dickinson, if I tell you before the game, like McCullough and Dickinson combined for 40 points, and DeJuan Harris almost has double-digit assists in the game, and KU has fewer turnovers than Baylor. Now, you're cherry-picking different stats. You probably feel pretty good. But it gets into the same thing that's going to cost KU in the tournament, is that they're 4 of 13 from the three-point line and only 6 of 8 from the free throw line. Yeah. I mean, they scored 18 points from the three-point line and the free throw line. And Baylor had 36 points in that from the three-point line and the free throw line. I mean, it is hard to win a basketball game in today's day and age to get outscored at the three-point line and the free throw line like that from Baylor. And that's where, like, we're sitting here March 4th. That's where KU, throughout the season, it's like, can they improve that? Can they get better at that? And I was wrong about Timberlake. Early in the season when he wasn't knocking down shots, and it's like, KU's got to find somebody to hit threes. And I'm like, look, Timberlake didn't just forget how to shoot threes. Like, he's been one of the most dangerous three-point shooters in his entire career. He was one of the most coveted transfers in all of college basketball in the transfer portal in the offseason. When he gets to KU, it's still the same length of the three-point line. You can measure the basket like it's in Hoosiers. You can do all of that stuff. He didn't forget how to shoot threes. He didn't just forget how to be that type of player. And he somewhat forgot how to shoot threes and be that type of player. And you know what? And he's got lost on defense a couple times. And if you're playing for Bill Self, that simply can't happen. And Furphy stepped up and played well. But it's a KU team that's, can they get to the free throw line more often? They're not going to be a team that knocks down threes. And if you're not going to be a team that knocks down threes, man, you got to find ways to get to the free throw line way more often than KU does. And that's how you end up losing games to good teams like Baylor. And teams continue to look at it, and what I've said is, get to 70 against KU. That's you got to find a way first and foremost to get to 70 against KU. You do that, you got a pretty good chance of winning.
I think offensively, KU actually had the right game plan. They're not a three-point shooting team, so I hate watching them jack up threes. Yeah. Hunter Dickinson, 9 of 12. He was efficient. He was effective. 101 from 3, and that was the late kind of the have to have it.
Yeah.
I'm fine with him shooting 3 threes a game. Those pick and pops kind of keeps the defense guessing if it's going to be a pick and roll or a pick and pop. KJ Adams, effective in this game for the most part. You don't want him shooting a lot, but when he did, he made them all 3 for 3. DeJuan Harris is the prototypical point guard. I love watching him play. Always in control. The floater was on. And then Kevin McCullers, outside of 3, he was 9 of 14 from the field, 9 of 14 from 2. That is the game plan for Kansas, but you have to draw more fouls. Don't shoot threes. 13 threes, 4 of 13. I get what you're saying. Some team's going to get hot in the tournament and knock them out. But 4 of 13 from 3, that's what you want from Kansas because they do not shoot the ball effectively. It comes down to defense. Ray J. Dennis was destroying them, 7 of 8 from the field.
Even Kim Kardashian was blushing the way Ray J was playing.
Nunn, looking like Kendrick Nunn in the NBA, was 7 of 8 from the field. I mean, to me, it came down to defense. I think offensively, the Jayhawks had the right game plan. It came down to defense. That's what it was in this one.
And Bill Self said after the game that he didn't think the second half defense was nearly as good as the first half defense was. I mean, he said he was less discouraged. I'm leaving out of here not encouraged, but less discouraged than he probably would have been, as he said, than some of the other losses. Maybe that's just splitting hairs. I'm not encouraged, but I'm less discouraged, meaning, you lose some games, and he's probably pretty annoyed. And maybe he's less discouraged just because, all right, this is how we're going to have to play. We played the way we have to play, but the defense has to be better. And exactly what you're talking about. That was the issue there in the second half. And look, as I've said, before, 70 points is the marker that you need to aim for against KU and Bill Self. And it's because their defense is so good, it's tough to get there. But KU in Bill Self's time is now 53 and 104 when the opposition gets to 70 points. And they're now 3 and 7 this year when the opposition gets to 70 points. It's not an end-all be-all because they've still won 3 games. But if you take 3 random teams, I just picked 3 teams. Alabama's 12 and 9, so it's not amazing record. Kentucky's 14 and 8, Baylor's 11 and 6 when teams get to 70 points. Kansas 3 and 7 this year and 53 and 104. It's not a one-year thing. They're 53 and 104 with Bill Self, and that's because they play such good defense. They keep teams under 70 and they get there. They typically get to 70. But when teams are scoring at that rate, it is tougher in Bill Self's time. And this year for Kansas, without having the 3, without getting to the free throw line enough, things like that, it's tougher to then compete and stay on pace with some of those teams. And you're right, man. Ray J and Nunn were fantastic. And those floaters at the end by Ray J. Dennis, if you're Kansas or a Kansas fan watching it, you're really annoyed. If you're a Baylor fan or independent fan watching, you're impressed by just the floater is such a beautiful shot. When guys have that great a feel, I think the floater is like the new finger roll. Like the finger roll used to be like that beautiful sort of, it's like anybody can dunk, but not everybody can finger roll. That just pretty little finish, just to finger roll it, have it spin off and fall delicately into the basket. Now it's the other way. You get into the lane and just soft little floater that falls into the basket. Like, it's such a pretty shot if you can make it. And that's all he was doing, was getting within 10 feet and the floater. And those aren't easy shots. I mean, those are not easy shots because they were going different. He was going from right to left. He was going from left to right. He was going right at the basket and just kept knocking those down. They're tough to defend because the defender can't get over there in time to knock down the floater. And it's when you're in the motion of shooting, you're dribbling, and then all of a sudden you just jump straight up. It's not your typical, I'm going to have both hands on the ball and shoot, and the guy can get there. Just a quick little floater. And if the defender is going to really try to close out and, defend that hard, into the body, and now you're getting a foul. It's a tough shot to defend, and when you've got somebody that has mastered it the way that he has, it's difficult. It's also pretty to watch.
Sure.
It's a pretty finish, but probably annoying if you're KU or teams that are going up against a guy that just, Sean East has a great floater, but, he doesn't do it in a game where the Missouri's winning.
Well, and it takes out Hunter Dickinson and KJ Adams who can block shots.
Yeah.
It takes out guys like Kevin McCullers who is long for his position.
Mm-hmm.
It takes them out from making an impact play on the floater. One thing that I want to see more of KU do offensively is the high-low. They got away from it later in the game. First half, KJ Adams and Hunter Dickinson.
Mm-hmm.
You saw KJ Adams 4 assists. It was beautiful. Little high-low, right at the elbow, Hunter Dickinson down low, and the alley-oop right there. It was beautiful. They got away from it, and I don't understand this. I've watched a lot of KU basketball this year. As an independent guy, I'm a Mizzou fan, but I take it out for this.
Yeah, right.
I get frustrated watching it go, you were so effective early in the game doing this. They're not stopping you. Why are you stopping yourself?
Where do you come down on this, Dylan? Watching this KU team from a different perspective, obviously, than we're watching the game from.
It's kind of weird to watch them because they're kind of struggling. But after watching the Chiefs all season, there's kind of hope at the end of the year that there might be a switch to a more defensive mindset, make the game ugly, especially in the tournament when, win or go home with these college kids. Teams change. They're not the same team when you have tomorrow, guaranteed. It's a little different. That's really my only hope at this point.
Well, I mean, KU has Patrick Mahomes, and I'm not being a smartass. It's just Bill Self. I mean, they have Patrick Mahomes. It's just named Bill Self.
Good point.
I mean, so they've got the guy that can do the things and figure those things out and lead a team and knows how to get it done. He's just not on the court. The guys on the court have to get it done.
Like the Texas game, if you can carbon copy that 6 times, you're fine. But obviously, that's a lot easier said than done.
Yeah, for sure.
They're 7-3 against AP 25 teams. Like, they're great against the elite competition. No other team can really say that. Even Houston, for example, they're only 4-1. KU has played a gauntlet, and they've come out ahead more times than not. There is something for that. I will also point out, while, yes, a team can get hot, as we've seen, KU fans know very well. Mizzou fans know very well. We will the team that shall not be named.
Yeah.
But if you want a consistent factor, it is what they're doing offensively in this game. That's why I do think Bill Self is, frankly, okay. He expects the defense to be better. You're not expecting 14 of 16 from 2 dudes on floaters in the game. And you're sitting here going, okay, I liked our offensive game plan. We were efficient. We didn't turn the ball over, and we didn't jack up a ton of threes. That can be a winning game plan in March Madness.
The other point I'll make, and again, I don't know how this gets better, is, at the beginning of the game, when the starting 5 was out there and the way KU was playing against Baylor and what it looked like, and as soon as you start to go to the rotation, and that's when Baylor started going on their run in the first half, was, you go to the bench, you bring in El Marco, not picking on him at all, but you bring in El Marco, you bring in, Parker Brown, you bring in guys that are on the bench, which we've talked about, developing that bench, and they just simply don't have it. Now, tournament time, you got longer breaks. You got longer halftime, you got more commercial breaks, they're longer breaks. It's why teams usually shave down their bench in the tournament because, unless there's foul trouble, you should be able to make it 40 minutes in a game. You don't have to play every single minute, but your bench is less needed if it's not a strength in the tournament unless you get into foul trouble.
Yeah.
If KU's not in foul trouble, you may not have to go to that rotation earlier. And that's where, and I thought it was smart when it happened. I thought it was smart because KU took that early lead, and Bill Self brought in some subs, and I thought, all right, he's stealing minutes here. He's got a nice lead on Baylor, and he's putting some reserve guys in to steal some minutes for his starters so that they can play longer and better and things like that. It was a smart move. You know that your reserve and your bench is not your strength, but you know that your 5 guys are not going to play 40 minutes. So you've got a nice lead. Can I steal some minutes here? And ultimately, it's just difficult when you've got somewhat of a makeshift lineup out there, throughout the second half. Their starting 5 is as good as any starting 5 in America. It's fantastic.
I think DeJuan Harris, by the way, is going to be a guy you look towards in March, just as you get into the tournament, because he's a veteran. He's a junior, and if you see his birthplace, it will not make you happy, guys. If you're a Mizzou fan, we all know this, but
depends on who you are.
Gosh, man, I just love watching DeJuan Harris play, and it's funny because a lot of my KU friends and a lot of the fans, They've been frustrated by him by his lack of shooting ability, but he is your guy that you want come March because he is so efficient, does not turn the ball over, a great passer, phenomenal vision, and he can occasionally get you a driving bucket. He's the kind of guy that can drive and dish to Hunter, drive and dish to KJ Adams. He is the best defensive point guard, I think, in college basketball. Watching him play is an absolute joy to watch. It's more of the traditional old school point guard, but I think DeJuan Harris is the X factor for Kansas going forward.
Just looking at this, it's really shocking. For example, Nick Timberlake. He has, this season, just looking at conference play from this year to last year, and obviously it's a different level of conference play. But last year, in the conference play for Timberlake, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 6 games total in conference play where he hit less than 3 threes. 6 games total where he hit fewer than 3 threes in a game. He's got 3 games this year where he's hit more than 1. And he has no games with 3 this year. The most is he's got 3 games with 2 in conference play. He's got 3 different games with making 2 threes. He was 2 of 5 against West Virginia, 2 of 4 against Tech, and 2 of 7 against Baylor at home. But other than that, 0 for 1, 1 of 6, 1 of 3, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 1 of 5, 0 for 1, 0 for 1, 0 for 0, 0 for 0, 0 for 1, 1 for 2, 0 for 4. I mean, that's not what he was brought in to do. Sorry. I mean, that's, his job is to be the guy that, can shoot better than 27% from 3.
26.7. You're very generous right there.
I'm just trying to round up. I'm being positive.
41.6 last year.
I'm a positive guy.
I will also point out, though, I wonder how much of this is in his dome. Because last year he's playing 35 minutes a game. This year's 13. If you are a shooter, it's tough to get into a rhythm. If you think that you miss a shot, you're getting pulled. That messes with your psyche. So I do wonder how much is mechanical, how much did he actually forget how to shoot? Amnesia, very common in college basketball. Or it's a factor of he's in his dome. It's the Chuck Knobloch. It's the John Lester trying to pick off, throwing to first base. It might be mental.
Adding up is 2, 4, 6, 10, 20. In the games where he's played 30 minutes this year, he's 6 of 20. So still shooting.
Better.
Still, I mean, is it though? It's still
30%.
I mean, barely. I mean, it's not even 30%. It's under, so it's sort of like what he's doing anyway. So 6 of 20. No, it's 30%. Yeah, you're right. It's right at 30%. Quick math to carry the 1, divide by the remainder. Yeah, it is better, but it's not like to where we're going to keep you in the game because you're knocking down shots. No, he's also playing. 33 minutes and goes 1 for 3. Then it's in your head because I'm not even taking the shot, All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling. A number of things to get into and talk about. Sporting KC screwed on Saturday night at home. You're supposed to get a beneficial whistle at home. You're supposed to in the home opener. That's not the case with backup officials. We'll talk about that. L'Jarius Sneed reports officially franchise tagged. 1 week from tomorrow is the tampering period opens up. No, 1 week from today because it's the 11th. So official tampering period opening up on March 11th at 2 o'clock, I think. 11 a.m. 11 a.m. So coming up a week from today. So the Chiefs have another week to figure some things out with Chris Jones. Mike Evans is off the market and returning to Tampa Bay. There's a press conference for Jason Kelce coming up at noon where he's expected to announce he's going to play for the Chiefs. That's not true. I'm going to guess what we all think the expectation for that press conference is. We'll talk about that. The Combine wrapping up over the weekend. There were 3 local players that were talked about in stock risers and lowers and risers and fallers, I should guess. Stocks rising and lowering. There are 3 local players that were talked about that. We'll discuss some of those things. Caitlin Clark is now the all-time leading scorer. A lot of stuff to get into today. 913-912-4810. More Zone right after this. Because we'll be talking Jason Kelsey press conference. Did I say podcast?
Yeah.
Okay, press conference. Sorry. The One Royal Way podcast for Josh Kaiser. Jason Kelsey has a press conference coming up at noon. We will not play that press conference. It's expected he will announce his retirement. Although, I think there's audio of what is expected maybe for Jason Kelsey's press conference today. This is, I guess Jason Kelsey's rehearsing. Maybe. I don't know. But there's a little bit of a leak of what Jason Kelsey is going to be saying at his press conference today coming up at noon.
You know what? I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving! The show goes on. This is my home. They're gonna need a wrecking ball to take me out of here. They're gonna need to send in the National Guard or SWAT team, because I ain't going nowhere.
Good for him. Good for Jason Kelsey. You let him know. This is his home. He's not going anywhere. Not going in. What if he did get up there and was getting ready to announce his retirement? Like, no, bleep this. Sorry, Kylie. Sorry. I know we've had these conversations, but I'm coming back, baby. Let's do it again. One more year with Andy Reid and the Chiefs. Sorry, Philly fans, but gotta go. God, that'd be amazing.
Shotgun and a beer and all.
Slam them together and then just shotgun. He should do the press conference shirtless.
That would be electric.
Or in what was the costume he had on the Super Bowl parade?
Was it a mummer's outfit?
Yeah, that's right.
I think it was a mummer's outfit.
The mummer's outfit. Wear that during the He's got to do something. He's always so colorful in a lot of things that he does in terms of what he's wearing or not wearing. That that should be part of the press conference today because it's going to be emotional. He's going to be crying. We know that he's not going to play football anymore in his life, and that's tough to do when you've been doing it your whole life.
I will take a bet and say he's going Kirk Cousins with it. He's going to wear the button-up, almost fishing shirt type outfit.
He's going to be nice. He's going to be wearing a suit.
Nice.
He's going to be wearing a suit. I wonder if Travis is going to be there with him because Travis was in Philadelphia yesterday, so he must be there with Jason today. So that makes sense. They visited a local fire department yesterday. Travis and Jason did. Just going around doing different things around Philadelphia. So I'm guessing that the whole family, the Kelsey family, will be there at his press conference to announce something.
He went for cheesesteaks. Travis had no idea about his brother's thing. He's like, you know what? I'm gonna grab me a nice cheesesteak.
That's right.
Cheesesteak and a haircut.
Travis was going into the Cleveland Heights High School Hall of Fame or whatever, or getting his number retired, something like that. Yeah. They had that ceremony there, and he's wearing his Letterman's jacket. He starts crying. It's like, my older brother made me a crybaby. He starts crying about what it means. It was a cool story though. If you didn't see it or hear it, if you're out there listening, he was talking about, everybody says they're college. And he goes, Jason says, University of Cincinnati, Bearcats, whatever. And he's like, and everybody asked me why I always say Cleveland Heights, Ohio. And he's like, because this place, and then he just starts bawling. He just starts crying. That's really cool. And I've always, been like, oh, that's cool that, Kelsey says that. I don't like when players of the local schools say their high school or where they're from, because then I want the local schools to get their publicity, get their rep. I don't care about the University of Cincinnati.
Particular linebacker for the Chiefs that I wish would say is college.
Yeah, not sure what you're alluding to there. But man, it was cool to see like that emotion, and that's when he started crying. He's like, my big brother made me a crybaby. And then heading over to Philadelphia and doing different things around the city with Jason. So. That press conference is going to be today at noon with the expectation that Jason Kelsey will be announcing his retirement.
I have never seen Dylan as nervous as when that clip started to play and he goes, Did you edit this?
Is this this is edited, I'm assuming. What? What do you mean edit? Why would it need to be edited?
Jason's clips are like the teleprompter and Anchorman. I just have full trust.
See?
And just rip it.
Go bleep yourself, Dylan. What a great show. Nice job. Bing, bang, bong. You know, I got to fire you. I got to fire you. Well done, everybody. Really solid show. Tight ship. Nice job, everybody. Well done. Go bleep yourself, Kansas City. I got to fire you. I got to fire you, Chad. Bing, bong, bong. It's never happened yet. Maybe one day. If Sterling gets his way.
My way.
I don't
No.
know.
All
I saw
right.
that look in your eye.
Wolf
It was a
of
gleam.
Wall Street. There's a gleam.
There's a gleam.
Wolf of Wall Street, Anchorman. Which one you rocking with?
Oh, Anchorman. That's more up my alley of
Dylan?
my personality.
Yeah, Anchorman too.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Whoa.
No.
Bold.
Yeah.
Not that trash film. The one before it.
T-O-O.
Yeah.
He's going with Anchorman.
Dumb
T-O-O.
and Dumber 2. That's the
Yes.
one Dylan's rocking with.
No way. No way. No, I'm guessing you're going Wolf of Wall Street.
No, I'm going Anchorman
Okay.
as well.
All right.
But I do think there's some similarities because you have to have a beer while watching both to really get the full enjoyment out of said film.
I've never got the full enjoyment then.
That was a quick
out of,
debate.
Out of either film. Yeah, Wolf of Wall Street, Anchorman. Anchorman. We move on. All right. Well done. I haven't got the full enjoyment out of it yet, apparently. So,
It's electric.
all right. Boogie woogie. Mike Evans is signed with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I'd said for the last couple of weeks, like, people are talking about Mike Evans and the Chiefs. I'm like, dude, the Chiefs are not going to sign Mike Evans for $50 million for 2 years. And I'm fine with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers doing that. 2 years, $52 million for Mike Evans to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Good for him. Get the bag. Get your cash. We'll see what they do at the quarterback position, if Baker Mayfield's going to return or not. He said he wanted to, what were the three things? He said he wanted to play with an elite quarterback. He wanted to get paid, and he wanted to be featured in an offense. Those were the three things he was looking for in the offseason. He got paid, and he will be featured in the Bucs offense. So we got two of the three.
I was going to say 66%'s not bad.
Yeah. Although he wasn't going to get paid like this in Kansas City, so the best in Kansas City would be two of the three as well. It's just a matter of what are you giving up, the elite quarterback for the money? And the answer is yes. That's what he's giving up, the elite quarterback for more money, because the Chiefs reached out to the agent. What are you guys looking for? All right, here's what we can offer. We're not going to be in that ballpark. All right, best of luck. Go get him.
Every player ever says the exact same thing. I want to be the guy, I want the most money, and I want to play with the best players.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no one's going, you know what? I want the most money and to play with a bad team. Like, this is what DeAndre Hopkins did last year as well. Remember DeAndre Hopkins? I want to play with a winner. I want to play with an elite quarterback. Ryan Tannehill.
Chance to win a Super Bowl. Tennessee. Here we go. If you look at most NFL players, and really just professional players, but NFL players, like the five things that they are most looking for in free agency. 1, money. 2, the contract.
Yeah.
3, how much their checks are going to be weekly. 4, another way to describe money. 5, let's go somewhere and win. Let's go somewhere. Can I win? Can I go somewhere to win? Once the first 4 are taken care of, then let me get to number 5. No matter what the priorities are set, number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are going to be some way, shape, or form the money, the guaranteed, the years, the contract, the money. And then after that, okay, where's this contract at? Here are the contracts in front of you. Which one do you want? I want this one. Where's the city? I don't care, actually. Let me just take this one, and you tell me later. I'll find out. I'll find out the sex of the baby when it's born. When we sign the contract and we're there, I'll find out what city I'm going to and what team I'm playing for. I am pumped, and I cannot wait to play for this historic franchise. Texans, that's fine. Great franchise, the history of football in Houston. I cannot wait to be there and be a part of something that is so special and building. A team that I know that is on the cusp of winning. Where am I going? Carolina. Let's do it, man. I just feel like they are about to start winning,
St. Louis Battlehawks, baby.
What are they paying me? That's fine. I'll go and do Saskatchewan. I'm a Rough Rider. Saskatchewan? Okay, I'm heading to Saskatchewan, and easier for somebody else to say. But I'll be a Rough Rider. Which one? Well, back in the day, there were two. So now there's only one. Which you're a Rough Rider. Awesome. What city, though, am I heading to? Let me find that out. Weren't they spelled the same, or one had a space between? It was like Rough Space Rider, and then one was just one word. I don't remember. But yeah, two different Rough Riders there in the Canadian Football League. But Mike Evans, 2 years, $52 million. The Dallas Cowboys have said that they are going to move on from Tyron Smith, which has made a lot of people upset around Dallas. And we'll see how much Tyron Smith gets paid. I would love for the Chiefs to look at Tyron Smith, to bring him in to play left tackle. I know he's had some injuries. They typically don't go for guys in their 30s that have had some injuries. They did it with Donovan Smith, but I do think Donovan Smith was more a plan down the line, depending on other things that happened. And that was only $3 million. Tyron Smith is not going to be 1 year. If Tyron Smith was 1 year, $3 million, then leave skid marks on the car to get there to have him sign that contract. But that's not going to happen. So they've gone down that road with the Donovan Smith, but that was cheap, $3 million. If something happens, he gets injured, you figure it out after that. Tyron Smith's going to cost more money, probably a couple of years, $20 million.
Spot Track has him as 1 year, 7.4, which
Really?
seems very low. If it was 7.4, I think that's a...
Yeah, I would take it.
But
sign him right now.
That
seems I think
way
PFF
low.
has him 1 year, $10 million.
That's like the house starting at a certain price, and then, of course,
when more people want, yeah, they're
There you
going
go.
over,
Yep.
over asking price right now. Yeah, I think it's probably closer to the $10 million per year, but people might be scared off by the injuries, by the age. But I do think teams are going to be lured by the talent.
If you saw a PFF, again, take with a grain of salt last year, overall grade 83.8, but pass blocking 88.6, which is absolutely elite.
Yeah.
What do the Chiefs like in their tackles? Pass protection more than run blocking. So Tyron Smith feels like a great get.
It'd be awesome if they did, but they've got so many different priorities. They've got a week to figure out something with Chris Jones before he hits free agency, and you never know. I mean, Mike Evans said he was going to go to free agency. He had already said he's going to test the free agent waters. And that little bit of a threat, I'm guessing the Bucs then came up on their price. But all right, okay, we'll give you 2 for 52. Just don't go dating, all right? Don't get on the online dating app. Don't download Tinder. Do the kids still use Tinder? I'm not sure. Is it Bumble? Whatever it is.
Dylan, I think, is the guy to ask.
Match.
Here.
No, I don't have very many social apps, so no, I'm not the guy to ask.
FarmersConnect.com.
There it is.
Is that what it was? Don't get on the dating apps, Mike. We'll give you the money. We'll take care of it. 2 years, $52 million.
Very quick back with Tyron Smith. He played 13 games last year, 4 the year before, then 12, and the year before that, 2. So, yes, you're right with the injuries.
So this is the year that he would play a minimal amount.
This should be
every other year?
2 to 4, or is it raising to 6 this year? You know, it could be either
But did he
one.
only play 4 this year? Sorry,
4 and 22, 13 and 23. So it's the every other, but
so
it
this would be
raises
the
a
year.
little bit.
So this would be the year that it's back to like 6 games.
Yeah, to 6.
Yeah,
But
so-
I will say, doesn't it make more sense in Kansas City when you have a guy that I think the Chiefs like with Wanya Morris as this is not ideal, but if it happens, we're comfortable. I don't know if every other team in the NFL can say that.
And the question would be, like, if he's looking for 2 years, a 2-year contract, that's a true 2-year contract, not like a 2-year contract you can cut him after 1. If he's looking for something like that, then I don't know that the Chiefs would be in the business of a guy in his 30s that is often injured. Now, they went after Trent Williams pretty hard, but that was also the best left tackle in football that they went after. So we'll see what they may do at that spot. But he has been told that he is not going to return to Dallas. But Mike Evans said he was going to hit free agency, and he is signed by or they have agreed to a contract. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling, wrapping up this hour. 913-912-4810. A couple of texts coming in. 2 out of 3 ain't bad. Meatloaf. Text says, if he doesn't hold, I don't want him. Left tackle. Text says, 0% chance your son said you have better burgers at home. Oh, that's true. That's absolutely true. I promise you. We went to Dick's Sporting Goods. We're like, what do you want to do? We got out of the car. Like, what do you want to eat? He's like, I just want a cheeseburger. I'm like, okay, cool. We'll head home. And he's like, good. And then my wife was like, I like ours better. I'm like, I agree. Ours is pretty damn good, man. That's true. I'm going to start recording what he said. If you don't believe me, throw the red flag. Stu, throw the red flag. Challenge flag. Yep, look in there. See? Told you. I get an extra challenge. Sterling Holmes hanging out with us, heading up until 2 o'clock. Dylan Michaels. We will talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. Mick Schaefer, KSHB 41 Sports Director, will be our guest coming up at 1 o'clock. Learn Funniest Best we will do with Mick Schaefer. You got to learn Funniest Best, Sterling?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
I figured you were hanging out last Monday, so you're aware of the LFB on a Monday, so hopefully.
Big LFB guy.
If not, better figure it out quick. Okay. Typically, Mick Schaefer will get in here in about 12:20 or a 1:25. He'll go, oh crap! I got to come up with a Learn Funniest Best from the weekend. Yeah. Don't do any pre-work, Mick. Just stroll right on in here and enjoy yourself, and then just throw it together at the last second.
But what's impressive is he'll do that, and then all of a sudden have like 7.
Right.
He just has 7. And I'm just like, how does your brain work like that?
See, I have a number of them because throughout the weekend I'm just like leaving notes on my phone. Like I've got one note on my notes on my phone that's just Learn Funniest Best. Like that's it. So I'll just go there and fill in the learned, and there'll be like 4 or 5 of them. Sometimes there'll be 0 of them, and then I got to figure it out. Sometimes I don't learn anything over the weekend. You don't have to learn.
That's
something
on
every
you.
day.
That's
I
on
agree.
you.
It's on me for not remembering to give myself a note because you learn stuff every single day, right? You learn stuff all the time. I learned that in the previous segment that I had a guaranteed foods live read in the previous hour. I learned that.
Well, that'd be great for your
there
LB.
you go. See, but I learned it.
LFB,
but
yeah.
it is something that I learned. You learn something every single day. I learned that. Well, I didn't learn this. We've known this, but just the arbitrary nature of the stoppage time that's added in, and what happened out at Children's Mercy Park with Sporting against Philly on Saturday night was absolutely ridiculous. If you care, then you probably know what happened, right? I mean, it was clearly Sporting's ball, their possession, throw in, kick it deep, clear it, and the whistle's going to blow, right? 4 minutes of stoppage time. It's already 4 minutes. There wasn't a substitution. There was one sort of, I'm injured, I'm rolling around a little bit. It happens. But in the
injured,
that's right. There was one of those, but there wasn't like a delay or a constant trying to delay or slow playing, things like that. It was 4 minute stoppage time, and then Philly gets the possession. They get the corner out of it, and then we know what happens with the goal being scored in the 95th minute. Thought it was 4 minutes of stoppage time. Now it's 90 plus, 4:47 in the 95th minute. And then still no long extra delay or anything or substitutions. And the game ends up going into the 98th minute. You know why it went to the 98th minute? Because the official knew that he bleeped up. He knew that he messed up. It's the only reason he kept letting it play. All right, we'll give Sporting another chance. Okay, we'll give him another chance. Okay, here comes a corner. We're definitely not going to blow it dead when it's a corner kick. We're going to let this thing play out. Okay, they clear a little bit. Okay, Sporting's got possession again. Let's give them another chance. Because you know darn well, if Philly wouldn't have scored on that corner and Sporting was able to clear it, the whistle would have blown. It would have absolutely blown. Like the arbitrary nature, well, they should get another shot. Or then they get another shot. Or then this team will get another shot. It's back and forth. The biggest issue is the fact that it was Sporting's possession. It was out on the Philadelphia Union player, and the officials just simply missed it. Now, they've got backup officials. They've got the pro or whatever you want to call it officials for MLS that they've got the lockout going on with the referees. And so you've got, the scab officials. You got the guys that are filling in. Like we had the Fail Mary in the NFL. But like the Fail Mary, like we make fun of the officials that were there filling in, but NFL officiating is a problem across the board. Like even with some of the guys that are full-time officials, and not all of them are. Everyone needs to be a full-time official in the NFL, and they've got a couple, but not nearly enough. And now you got this in the MLS where this happens. Peter Vermees and Daniel Sperry, who does a fantastic job. Peter Vermees post-game, obviously not happy about what took place there at the end of the game. And Daniel started his some of the questioning, and this is in the post-game press conference, but asked Peter about the backup officials, the non-regular, if you want to call it that, the union officials, and how much that might have been an issue there at the end of the game.
It has nothing to do with it for me. I truly mean this. I've watched, a majority of the games in the league, and I think the referees that have been doing the games all have done a good job. I really do. I think that, look, mistakes are made sometimes. I think you have to calm down in the moment. I think that it was a mistake. It was a mistake. I don't know what to do about it. I do have a problem with the fact that the time went as long as it did, based on the fact that nothing happened in the game in that 4 minutes. Like, it wasn't like there was a VAR check or a major injury. It's 4 minutes. 4 minutes. It's done. It's over. That's why you get 4 minutes. To go all the way to almost 5 minutes, it makes no sense.
Do you think,
and the ball's out of bounds by, I say it again, by their number 7, and it's our ball again.
So do you think that play that mistake isn't down to the fact that it is replacement referees?
No, I don't. Do you see last year at the end of the year when we played Houston, we had referees there, and there was 2 handballs in that game, and neither of them got called. One should have been a red card. They didn't get called. No.
Just in general, is the disappointment then in the following the fact that the team didn't close down any of those opportunities? You said you guys.
No, the team did. The team. At some point something goes. Listen. If the game went 20 minutes, would you then expect me to try to defend every single minute thereafter? I'm not defending all the minutes. I'm defending the 4 minutes that was supposed to be on the board. That's what I'm defending. And the fact that their guy hit the ball out of bounds. I'm not sure what else you're trying to bait me to get to, but it's starting to piss me off because where you're going is the wrong way. I just said the replacement referees have nothing to do with it. The referees are the referees. I said I watched almost all these games in the league that have been transpired so far, and the referees have all done a really good job. That's not the fact. And I also told you last year at Pro, those guys were refereeing the game in the playoffs, and those guys made 2 mistakes in the game, or 2 penalty cases that should have happened in that game, which we should have been in the final. Okay? I don't know what else you want me to say.
I totally understand Peter Vermees being upset because his team lost 2 points because of officiating. That's what it is. And I get what Daniel was saying is that, well, there were opportunities to sort of finish that thing and to go up 2-0, to put another, goal on the board, and to not be in that position to where you're defending to the last second, right? That something crazy like that happens and it wouldn't have mattered if you're up 2-0, if you've got that second goal. I understand that line of questioning, and it's perfectly fine. He asked the one question about, the backup officials. Peter Vermees answered it, and then he said, so that call, because the first one was sort of a general, what did you make of the end of the game, da-da-da-da. And then, the backup officials, and he's like, well, that had nothing to do with it. And then follow up, that out of bounds play, because he was talking about the out of bounds, he was talking about the blowing of the whistle, he was talking about letting him play. It was all of that stuff. He's like, okay, but specifically the out of bounds, that didn't have anything to do with the backup officials, right? And that's when Peter Vermees starts to get more frustrated. No, it's not, because of the 2 handballs last year that Sporting should have continued to play in the playoffs because of that, one being a red card. Those officials were the regular officials, and they were crap, And I get what he's saying, they've been fine, they've been good. But ultimately, it's an overall problem in that even a year ago, when they've got the issues and they're not getting it right with the regular officials, and now those officials are being locked out, and you've got these officials that are there, and they miss an obvious ball out of bounds on the Union that, Sporting gets the ball, they throw it in, kick it deep. The game is over. They've got 3 points. And they went 10 games last year without a win. And that was, the biggest thing happening, and it was calling for Peter Vermees' head. It was the frustration that was going on with the team overall, and it was the direction of where the club was heading. This is going to be the home opener, second game of the year. They were going to get a win, and they didn't. Now, they could have closed it out. They could have put another goal on the board. But what Peter Vermees is saying is, yeah, they could have happened. But we ultimately didn't have to because it was 4 minutes of stoppage time, and they scored in the 95th minute. So, that we didn't have to put another goal on. We put enough on the board to end the game. And his point was, what if it goes 20 minutes? Do I got to defend the next 20 minutes of stoppage time? If it's going till, if we're sitting at 110, it's like, well, you didn't add another goal. Well, yeah, but we should have had to because the game was over at that point. And that's the arbitrary nature of those things. I mean, we saw, was it Real Madrid over the weekend on Saturday, that there was a crosser, and in the middle of the ball being kicked, the whistle blew. Like that was amazing. Like that was a huge controversy because people I don't think I've ever seen an official blow the game dead and in the game blow the whistle in stoppage time when the ball is being crossed into the area into the box to try to win the game. And they scored on that one. Oof. They scored a goal. The ball's flying. They score a goal. Whistle blows. A header goes in. Now, I do think you can make a case that does the defense stop with as intense that they might have been, or the goalkeeper or whatever, when they hear the whistle? Maybe. Do they hear the whistle when you're that focused on the game of what's going on? I have no idea, but that whistle blows in the middle of a crosser. And that's even in the EPL, right? EPL or other different leagues. I know not specifically the EPL with that one, but it happens in the EPL. It happens with controversies and all over with League One, League Two, whatever it might be. This one shouldn't have even happened because it was Sporting's ball. And I understand where Daniel was going with. There's two different ways of approaching this with the officials' issues. It was Sporting's ball, should have been theirs. And also, they let him play for another 17 minutes or so. I know it was only 5, but still, when they scored.
And soccer's a lot different than other sports where one goal, one mistake can be the difference. In basketball, I have a hard time when people blame at the very end of the game. I'm like, yeah, but you had 80 different possessions at a minimum. The final score is 84-82. Soccer was 1-0. It was 1-0. And then you score 1-1, right? Like, soccer's a lot different than other sports. It's not even Dinkinger with the Royals, which, by the way, he was safe, clearly. Obviously safe.
I don't understand what the issue has been with that.
But it wasn't even the final out, right? This would have been the end. If Sporting KC would have gotten the ball on the throw-in, they touch it, it's over. So this was the end of the game that was, again, then kept going, and then another 4 minutes. So it was just a culmination of effects right here.
It's unfortunate. It sucks. I get what Peter Vermees, was saying there. By the way, text says, worst beat in my life, Madrid money line, $500. Ouch. I'll be honest with you. I may have had money on Real Madrid money line as well. I also had the Real Madrid money line there. That sucks. But they fell behind 2-0. Madrid did. Then they came back, tied it 2-2, and then they should have won 3-2. Doesn't matter. That's the final. That one sucked. I am with you. I'm right there. I ain't there in that amount of money. All right, I'm not playing the $500 roll with you. You got that on. You got me beat by about $490.
That's hefty.
You got me hefty. By that, $500. But they were also hefty favorites to win that game against Valencia. They just they fell behind 2-0, and they don't end up winning, but they did get that goal there. But even in that league, even at the highest level of professional soccer, but the issue, I think one of the issues there in just talking about Peter Vermees and Daniel Sperry and whatever it is, and he's not really a part of the story. It's the frustrations for Peter Vermees. Sure. They were good questions. It's the fact that the same thing with the NFL. When that was happening, we were talking about the backup officials, right? The officials that were, filling in for them. We were talking about them, and every mistake was highlighted. We know how bad the officials are in the NFL now. How difficult. It's like, it's a tough sport to officiate. Okay, then don't do it. Yes, it is. There's a lot of things that are tough for people to have to go out and do for their day job, but they're expected to get it right. They're expected to do a good job, and if they continue to get it wrong, they won't have that job. But it happens in the NFL all the time, and sort of some of the arbitrary nature of what, plays they're calling and penalties they're calling. Kadarius Toney being offsides. He was offsides. But then you start to see some of the other plays that, videos from across the league, and you start to see that, the, quote, emphasis on guys lining up on sides is just with offensive linemen on the tush push. and on special teams plays. That was the emphasis. It wasn't wide receivers. There were only like 2 or 3 other ones, and they were way more egregious than what Kadarius Toney's was. But still, regardless, like we see issues with that. That was actually one that they got right, but it's still an issue there. We were talking about the backup officials, and that was the problem with the NFL. The problem here is we're actually talking about the backup officials. We're actually discussing, what's going on, and that is a line of questioning. If those were regular officials, one, I think they would have got it right.
Sure.
I think they would have seen that the ball bounced off clearly the Philadelphia Union player. But it's a conversation because there's backup officials, and that's the problem MLS is going to face is every single call that they get wrong, it's going to be, well, you got to figure something out here, even though Peter Vermees talked about it and pointed out last year there were 2 handballs that weren't called.
It's absurd why we don't just have someone who sits above and just rings down, hey, no, man, that was off the Union. Or in the NFL, hey, no, pick up the flag. That guy was not holding in the secondary. He was clean. This blows my mind every single time. And going back, you're right. It wasn't the backup refs that called forward progress against Derek Johnson. No, that was.
Those were the scab officials. Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that was right. But again, EPL has it. La Liga with Real Madrid. Thank you, Texter. With against Valencia, those things, and the money that I had on that, whether it matters or not, doesn't matter to anybody else though. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. There is a rule proposal in the NFL that will massively shake up the way that we have watched a play our entire lives and our fathers and mothers' lives. There's a rule proposal, and many people think it's going to pass. We'll talk about what that is and how much of a difference it'll be in the NFL coming up next year if and the expectation of when this thing gets passed. More Zone next. is the text line, 913-912-4810. Text line to join us to be a part of the show. So last year at this time, they made a rule change in that they were wanting to lower the rate of injury in the NFL on the kickoff. Having that long to run to then have that collision take place on the kickoff and have concussions, et cetera, things like that. And they made the rule to where if you fair catch it, then you will get the ball at the 25-yard line. Ball goes into the end zone, get the ball at 25-yard line. Fair catch it, get the ball at the 25-yard line. So essentially eliminating kickoffs. Got a lot of pushback. There were no kickoff returns in the Super Bowl. Of the 13 kickoffs, none of them were returned. So that's, it is completely taken that play, not completely, but damn near close to completely taking that play out. Last year, Dave Toub talked about the XFL rule, where the players line up on the other side of the field, on the receiving team's side of the field, 5 yards apart from each other. In the XFL, they do it at the 30 and the 35. In the NFL, it looks like the proposal will be at the 40 and the 35. So the receiving team can have players line up with their feet not across the 35-yard line. The kicking team will have their entire team lined up at the 40-yard line, and then they will kick off. One of the things that is confusing is the wording of this, because the wording says that so it says the entire kickoff team will kick off from the 40-yard line. Will be at the 40-yard line. So it's like, okay, are they kicking off from the 40-yard line, or they're kicking off from the regular spot, but everybody on the team like the XFL? Because the XFL kicks off from the regular spot, and then everybody's at the 40-yard line. This says everybody's at the 40-yard line. So, I don't know. Regardless, wherever the kicker is going to be, the rules are going to be that you'll be lined up 5 yards away from each other. If the kick goes into the end zone, the receiving team gets the ball at the 35-yard line. If the kick goes into the end zone, the receiving team gets the ball at the 35-yard line. If the ball bounces inside the 25-yard line to the goal line and then rolls into the end zone, the receiving team gets the ball at the 20-yard line. They are adding all these different convoluted rules there. The receiving team will then declare who their returners are. You can have up to 2 returners because you would probably want to put a couple returners back by the goal line, because a kicker then could just kick it as hard as he could, bounce, inside the 25-yard line, and then roll into the end zone, and that receiving team would get the ball at the 20-yard line. They kick it into the end zone, they get it to the 35. You have eliminated kicking it through the back of the end zone. We just say, just kick it through the back of the end zone. Put them at the 25-yard line. Why are you kicking off that way? Why are you risking giving them the ball at almost the 40-yard line? Well, now, by doing that, you're giving them the ball at almost the 40-yard line. It's an extra first down than they would have received before. So, and by the way, the receiving team and the kicking team cannot move until the ball gets into the zone of 25 yards to the goal line and the returner touches the ball. Then they can all move and block and all of that stuff. And this is expected to pass. Now, they'll put an official proposal, but there are multiple different people that are reporting on these particular details of the new kickoff rule. They have gone from a year ago at this time to having kickoffs, not having the fair catch rule like college had, to then implementing the fair catch rule, almost eliminating kickoffs across the board, to now having almost every kick be returned. I mean, just the extremes. How many times are you not going to see a kick returned this year? Because the fair catch is going to go away. So you can't fair catch it and get the ball at the 25-yard line like they would in college. So the fair catch is eliminated, and kicking the ball into the end zone is the 35-yard line now.
Do you think the 49ers and Shanahan has any idea? Like, when this happens, they're just going to be like, we had no idea the rule changed. We had no idea.
And they won't know until it gets to the Super Bowl? Like, hold on, how did this thing happen?
Hear me out. I have an idea here. What if the kicker and the team kicking, they kick from the 35-yard line, and if it goes in the end zone, it's a touchback, the receiving team gets it, let's just say the 25-yard line.
No.
You know how it was like 3 years ago?
No, that sounds dumb. Well, even if it's that, like, I understand them lining the guys up 5 yards away from each other. The XFL, I think the injury reporting was like half the injuries on the kickoff than the NFL. Because, again, you got a 5 yard, and it's really 2.5 because guys are meeting in the middle. So you got 2.5 yards of this person running before you hitting that guy, 2.5 yards that person running and hitting that guy, and then you're blocking. So it's almost like play from scrimmage. So you're creating that instead of guys running 20, 30 yards down the field and then hitting guys. I mean, they eliminated the wedge. They eliminated all of those double team hits. They eliminated all of those things because there were a lot of injuries that went along with it. And the XFL has found out that their rules have cut in half the injuries, what they reported last year. So, and Dave Tobe talked about maybe the XFL rule where the players line up 5 yards away from each other. This being the kicking team lines up at the opposing 40-yard line. The receiving team lines up with their closest players to the kicking team at the 35-yard line. And then when the ball is touched or lands inside the 25-yard line, the guys can move. One other part about this is onside kicks have to be declared. And you can't have an onside kick unless you are trailing in the fourth quarter. So no surprise onside kicks happening in the NFL. You must be trailing in the fourth quarter. Then the alignment will be like it used to be, where your regular alignment, the line of scrimmage, all of that stuff, or yard line where you're kicking the ball off from. But by declaring it, they may allow a 6-4 formation. 6 men on one side, 4 on the other, where it used to be it had to be even 5-5. Now, if you declare it, they may go to a 6-4 to where you can actually kick it to an overloaded side and try to get an onside kick, because now they want the onside kick to be a little bit more entertaining, since those never get recovered now because you can only have 5-5 and there is no running start like there used to be. So those all have to be declared now. One other point on this. Again, this is how convoluted it is. If the kicking team kicks the ball and it lands before the 25-yard line, it will be deemed the same as kicking the ball out of bounds, and the opposing team will get the ball at the 40-yard line. So you can't squib kick it. There will be no squib kick down the field or whatever and have it bounce around and then somebody pick it up or take a knee or whatever. That will be eliminated as well.
Because Jason and I, before the show, I'll go, why wouldn't you just have John Ross line up across from a linebacker? You 5 yards to basically beat him. If you get past him, why wouldn't you squib it and have him recover? Well, you can't. That's why. So my idea automatically was stupid.
It's a real surprise, though.
That I was stupid. Yeah, no. But for me, this helps bad offenses. Like, no one's
helps
more
the Chiefs then.
No one's more thrilled than the Jets. No one's more thrilled than the Carolina Panthers, because it seems like more often than not, you're probably starting at least the 30 or the 35. Like, that seems to be a pretty common starting point. I get the offenses and the scoring was down last year for the first time in a while. Mm-hmm. It was 1 year. Like, wasn't it nice to have defense play a larger aspect in the game? I don't think anyone was complaining about it.
No, I mean, but scoring was down, and last year was a great year to have a better defense than you would have in years past, because there was more of an emphasis on the defense. And so the Chiefs having, one of, if not the best defenses in the NFL, a historic defense in what they did that will not get credit because Patrick Mahomes is on the other side of the football, and we know how that works. And I've talked about it, that a historic defense will not get the credit it deserves if you have an all-time great quarterback on the other side. The Denver Broncos and Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl was Peyton Manning's second Super Bowl. Von Miller was the MVP of that game.
Yeah.
But we remember the Ravens Super Bowl because Trent Dilfer. We remember the Bucs defense.
Yeah.
Because Brad Johnson. That's why if Tom Brady was quarterbacking the Bucs of that, early 2000s, we'd remember the Tom Brady winning that Super Bowl, not the amazing Bucs defense. The Chiefs defense should go down in the offenses that he faced in terms of those, but Patrick Mahomes is on the other side. So that they won't get that respect because it'll be Patrick Mahomes' third Super Bowl win. And the last 2 drives for Patrick Mahomes. Down 3 at the end of regulation, you have to score. They get a field goal. Down 3 in overtime, you have to score. They score a touchdown. They scored 10 of their 25 points in the final 2 drives of the game because Patrick Mahomes just, went into the phone booth and put on a cape. That's what he does. But this last year was a year that you needed to have better defense. But it's obvious they want more offense.
Yeah.
And there was such a pushback by special teams coaches and others about eliminating the kickoff totally, and football fans in general, eliminating the kickoff totally, that Roger Goodell has talked about. Yeah, we hear you. This is going like the almost extreme the other way to, okay, you want kickoffs? Okay, here's every of the kickoffs. Every single kickoff will be returned.
And this is what I said, again, earlier, for kickers themselves who have been trained now to either pop it up or to blast it out the end zone, they have to readjust yet again. So I think that might be an underlying talking point of now, again, Butker can obviously just hammer the ball out, but that doesn't matter anymore. You don't want him to kick it out of the end zone. Like, for the kickers themselves, how much of a learning curve is this going to be? Again, it just feels very dramatic to me. It feels way too much going the other way now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely gone the other way. And it does. So it takes away somebody's ability to just boot the ball through the back of the end zone, because that's not going to be a strategy anymore. I mean, unless there's some scenario where you're like, all right, just kick it deep. It doesn't matter. Maybe the scenario is there's 2 seconds left on the clock and we're not going to chance a return. Typically, you might squib it. We can't squib it. We're not going to chance a return. Kick it through the back of the end zone. Give them the ball at the 35-yard line. Doesn't matter. They're down by 6 or 7 or 4. They need a touchdown. Not even going to risk it. This is the best strategy, is just give them the ball at 35-yard line. We don't think they're going to end up getting 65 yards on this final play. But on a kickoff return, because we've got everybody lined up at the 40 and their entire team there at the 35, they break through. Now all of a sudden they got a better chance of scoring. But the target zone, quote, the target zone is from the 20-yard line to the goal line. So the ball has to land from the 20-yard line to the goal line. If it lands before it gets to the 20-yard line, the receiving team gets the ball at the 40-yard line. If it lands in the end zone, the receiving team gets the ball at the 35-yard line. Nobody on the returning team can touch the ball until one of the declared returners touches the ball first. There are so many different rules. And so if you want to see like the catch and all the laterals, one of the declared returners has to touch the ball first.
How many dudes can you declare?
2. You can have up to 2 returners, which is smart because you would put those 2 returners back on the goal line.
Sure.
Because if you've got somebody like Harrison Butker, can he kick it deep enough and on a line drive that lands within the 20-yard line and then skips on into the end zone? Now they got the ball at the 20. Well, if I have 2 guys back at the goal line, now I can cover both halves of the field to where I don't have one guy in the middle and running right or left. You need an incredibly accurate kicker to be able to kick it to where it would skip into the end zone without going out of bounds, but also has to land from the 20 to the goal line.
Idea. Morton Anderson, what is he doing? Bring back Morton Anderson. No one remembers him. It just being very accurate, but couldn't kick past 40 yards. It seems like this would
there you go.
This is right in his breadbasket right
there you
here.
Go. It is the extremes. One extreme to the next. It'll make it more entertaining because every single kickoff, I shouldn't say every single kickoff. I would love to know, I think it'd be the exact opposite. 22% of kickoffs were returned this year. 78% of kickoffs next year returned. Like the exact opposite. 22% of kickoffs aren't returned. Like if I'm guessing right now, I think that would be reasonable. Because you're not going to kick it in the end zone. On a rare occurrence, you might. Just like on a rare occurrence, you might return it instead of calling for a fair catch, just taking the ball at 25-yard line.
And this is how Kadarius Toney makes the team.
Is that right? Is that that's what it takes?
All of a sudden, okay, we found a role for him.
It's weird because the Chiefs didn't beat a team with some strange kickoff. So why did they change the rule to it? It's weird. No reason to change the rule if the Chiefs didn't win.
I will say this is why I'm irritated, because this helps bad teams.
Yeah.
This does not help Kansas City whatsoever. This does not help the good teams whatsoever. This helps the bad teams.
Well, I think it could help them in this regard. Their offense was not that great this year. The defense was really good. So if a team starts at the 25 or the 35, does that make that much of a difference for the defense? It can. But the offense scoring was the issue, not the defense, eliminating teams from scoring. So maybe it helps the Chiefs offense, but the plan for next year is to not have them sitting with an offense that has wide receivers, that Marcos Valdes-Scantling is the number 1 or 2 option on the field, that he's not the guy that you have a go-to guy, even though he wasn't that. That it's not just Travis Kelce and then eventually the emergence of Rashee Rice, that you're a better offense, throughout the season. And then it would help the offense. But it helps the less good offenses, the worser offenses that are out there, maybe. But really, it's just the complaints from fans and special teams coaches about kickoffs being eliminated. It never bothered me. I didn't care if the kickoffs happened or not. And I know they'll be like, well, why don't you just put it at the 25-yard line? Well, teams might want to be aggressive. Or, you might be able to kick it somewhat high enough that the team does not call for a fair catch, but also high enough to where it gives you some time to go down and cover. It eliminates the, some of the injuries, whatever. That's fine. This, again, I'm fine with either way. I don't have a strong opinion. But they eliminated kickoffs. I'm pissed. What are you doing to the NFL? Well, the kickoff's a fine play.
Yeah,
it's fine, but the game is played from in between the 20s ultimately, or with the 22 men out there that are part of the offense and defense, not necessarily the special teamers.
I'd prefer Patrick Mahomes to be the deciding factor in a game, not Amir Smith-Marset on the Panthers having a return for a touchdown. That's the way I look at this. I prefer to have the offenses and defenses make the biggest impact instead of the kickoffs. And again, as you're mentioning, it wasn't 0% last year. Over 1 and 5. Yeah. Over 1 and 5 was still happening. Seems like a fine number to me.
Yeah, it's going to be vastly different. Because college always had the fair catch rule, and I think there was a confusion around if the NFL had it, and it came up. When did it? Came up with the Bills and Chiefs 13-second game, and it was like, well, they kicked the ball through the end zone. You gave them the ball at the 25-yard line. And then there was, well, why don't you just kick it deep and or kick it high and make them return it? And then there was like, well, they call fair catch and get it to the 25-yard line. No, they wouldn't. They call fair catch to get it where the fair catch was. Yeah. So they wouldn't do that. They would have had to return it, which is where the Bills messed up. You kick it to the 5-yard line or whatever, and 13 seconds, by the time they get back to the 25, where the Chiefs started from, you're going to have less than 13 seconds. Even if they get to the 25. And odds are the returner is going to run around and then try to juke somebody and then just to try to get as many yards as possible. Chiefs would have taken over at like the 20 or 25 with like 7 seconds left. And we're talking about something completely different. We're talking about maybe the Bills winning the Super Bowl that year. Because I think the Bills would have taken care of the Bengals. Now, I say that. I thought the Chiefs were going to take care of the Bengals too. I don't think the Bills would have had the second half that the Chiefs had against the Bengals. I think the Bills were the better team, and that was their chance to sort of go and win a Super Bowl that year. Instead, it was the Rams. Rams wouldn't win a Super Bowl. I think the Bills could have beaten the Rams that year, but they would have made the Super Bowl, and they might be 0-5 in Super Bowls if they made it. But, you couldn't call a fair catch then. You can now, and that was part of sort of that issue. So, man, Dave Tobe right now cannot walk in public. Should not walk in public right now. He is so excited about what this is going to do for the kickoffs and the different strategies he can implement. Oh, he's so pumped.
We'll take it. It's the pleats.
That's why you can't walk in public? Probably. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, hanging out here on this Monday edition of The Zone. Hour number 2 wrapping up. We'll talk with Josh Kaiser coming up at noon. KC Sports Network, One Royal Way podcast. And then Mick Schaefer will join us in the 1 o'clock hour. KSHB 41 Sports Director. Some Learn Funniest Best with Mick. Dylan, we didn't get your thoughts as NFL diehard historian. The kickoff rules. It's going over well on the text line. A lot of people love all the new convoluted rules that go along with it.
I'm sure my thoughts align with theirs, and I have no comment.
Okay. One of the texts says the kicking team should get a chance to kick it through the uprights. Oh, here we go. Give the kicking team the option to get 3 points if they can make a field goal on kickoff. Then give the receiving team the ball on the 35 if they don't. All of the rules stay the same.
Yeah, let's just make it up as we go, to be honest. Let's just add all kinds of different rules and,
That's right.
Flag football, all the get off my lawn sayings that I can put out there. That's my comment.
Tex says, I also thought they wanted less returns because of the collisions at full speed. That is part of it. They wanted less returns because of that. That's the main thing. They wanted less returns because of the injuries. This will increase returns, but lower the injuries. The XFL reporting that their kickoff injuries are half of what's happening in the NFL because you're talking about a 5-yard difference than running full speed and making the contact there. Tex says, next week's rule change, you must declare fake punts and fake field goals before you let them know. There you go. Josh Kaiser, we'll talk some baseball next. Up until 2 o'clock. Sterling Holmes hanging out with us. We will talk with Mick Schaefer coming up an hour from now. Got some Learn Funniest Best coming your way about 1:25, 1:30 or so. He's from KSHB, sports director. We'll talk to him then. Right now, let's talk some Rawls baseball. Josh Kaiser, KCSN, and One Royal Way podcast joining us here in the zone. Josh, what is up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing great on this fine spring morning. It seems like spring has sprung. Shout out to Punxsutawney Phil for not being a big fat lying rat this year. So had a great weekend. How about you guys?
He is a big fat rat, though, right? Isn't that really what they are?
Literally.
Just a big fat rat.
Literally a big fat rat. Yep.
You know,
I mean, he's got hog in his breed name, so I think he's entitled to be a big fat rat.
One of the biggest freeloaders in this country, actually.
Seriously.
Only has to work once a year.
Yeah. Everybody celebrates him if he just stays out and hangs out. Celebrates him, goes back in. He doesn't even hear people that don't like him when he goes back in. They don't care, but he doesn't care. Doesn't even know the criticism that might be out there. So, what a jerk!
I mean, what a dream job for that jerk.
Right?
I mean, he has a own national holiday. What are we doing here?
I mean, it's not. I mean, here's the thing. I would love to do that instead of, the hard work and the hours and hours and hours we put in sitting here talking, the voice box getting overworked for 4 hours a day. Like, It is difficult. If only I had a job where I could just hang out for a little bit and be celebrated or yelled at.
Gets a biopic played by, Bill Murray's in his biopic.
Yes.
I mean, it's just so much for nothing.
This is Groundhog Day every day, 10 to 2. I'm on the air. It's like the same thing over and over again. I got this routine, Josh.
Just really, really in the trenches here.
That's right.
What we should really be celebrated way more.
I've always said squirrels are rats with a better PR agency. Because if you take the tail off the squirrel, that's a rat. Take the tail off the squirrel. To look at a picture of a squirrel and put your hand over the tail and tell me what you see. You see a rat. That thing is out in the open. Yep. It's going in sewers if it needs be. It's eating off it's a rat is what it is. But it's like, oh, it's a squirrel.
It's the tail is the difference. The tail is the difference maker between the argument here. And bigger is always better from what I've heard. So shout out to their PR firm. Yes. Their PR firm. They're really doing it.
It's absurd.
They might be arguably more destructive than rats.
I think they are. I have never had a rat eat my tomatoes in the backyard. Not one time. Or the apples in the front yard. So.
Yeah. I mean, they're literally eating my deck. Eating my deck. I really need to figure that out.
There you go. They are literally eating the vegetables that I grow in the backyard and the apple tree in the front yard. They are literally eating all of those. Rats aren't doing that. They aren't. So they're eating pizza in the sewers in New York. That's what they're doing.
Arguably a better spot for him. Punxsutawney Phil is still rodent of the year, I guess. So I guess we've figured out why Punxsutawney has been celebrated in the rodent family.
Well, you know what? There's great competition for that, but also, Josh.
Here we go.
Where do you think the best competition is going on with the Royals right now in spring training?
I'm a little bit hitter-centric, but this time I think the best battle right now is going on in that bullpen. It's probably the most intriguing battle going on, especially with the Carlos Hernandez shutdown. I think there's up to four spots up for grabs between 11 to 12 guys currently making their cases. Shout out to Joe Lenardi, but I think McMillan, Sauer, and McArthur have the inside track, but the Brent, Taylor, Cruz, Klein might be the next four in, if you know what I mean. Shout out to sports. But I think that Sam Long, Walter Pennington, Duffy, Stezza, they're all making pretty solid cases to be added to that 40-man roster too. So there's a lot of competition in that bullpen up for very few spots, and I think that's exactly what you're wanting to see.
We talked
as far as the hitters go. No, as far as the hitters go, I've always looked at that, the outfield configuration and how that was going to work. But really, Garrett Hampson and Nelly Cruz are probably penciled into the roster. But I think their spots are kind of being, up for their jeopardized at this point. Between Nick Prado's had a strong spring, Nick Lofton has had a strong spring, Drew Waters had a solid start, but kind of fell off, striking out a little bit more here lately. So. there's some intriguing stuff going on and across the board, and I think that's definitely a good thing.
Sorry for interrupting. What I was going to say is, as you were talking about the bullpen, you mentioned Matt Sauer, and we've talked about him before in the Rule 5, and that was before really spring training started. It certainly seems to be with the stuff that he has. And I know there was the injury history, but you've got the pedigree of being, a second-round draft choice in his career. As you look at him, he's an inside track guy of being on this team, and I know the Rule 5, you got to send him back and everything. Is he a guy that you've already penciled in on this bullpen as long as he stays healthy?
Yeah, I think he's got the inside track. They obviously like him, and as far as the industry-wide, standard goes, it seemed like a pretty celebrated pick when they made it. It was a lot of kind of people called it under the radar, and some even loved it. So I think that they like what they saw from Matt Sauer prior to this. They think they can work with it. And I think, as far as inventory goes, if you can stash him in a bullpen that needed revamped anyways, you can also bet on the upside that he could be showing if you're able to attain him, retain him, and then develop him, string him, or stretch him out a little bit more as a starter. I think that's definitely a good upside to keep on the team. So I definitely think he's got the inside track. His spring so far has been pretty solid as well. So he hasn't necessarily lost that inside track. So we'll have to see how it goes. It doesn't require a 40-man. I mean, he's already on the 40-man roster, so that also bodes well for him as well. So he's done everything right so far, and we'll see how it goes. We still got about 2.5 weeks left of spring training, so we'll see.
Josh Kaiser is our guest. You mentioned some of the hitters, and one of the guys you mentioned, I thought it was a really cool story with Nick Lofton, that the second game that his son has ever attended, I mean, he's a newborn, so, but the second game he's ever attended, Nick Lofton hits a home run. Clearly a great memory for the son. He'll remember it forever. He's developing memories. People know that at a few weeks old. But Lofton hits the home run. And, he's been playing fine. And he's a player that, I like. And so there's part of it to where, he can still develop down in the minor leagues, but sort of this weighing of a Hampson or a player like that versus someone that's homegrown in Nick Lofton. Where do you defer on that? If Nick Lofton is doing enough to earn the spot on the team, do you go with the guy that you signed in the offseason to come in and just simply start the season that way, and Lofton starts at AAA? Or, what, this guy's homegrown, he's earned it, he's moved around, he's got an infield glove, he's got an outfield glove, heck, he might have a catcher's mitt as well if need be, what, he's earned it, he's on this team, even if it might be at the risk of somebody you signed in the offseason?
I am totally in on bringing Nick Lofton, and I've been a big Nick Lofton guy for the last 2 years or so. And the Garrett Hampson signing as the super utility guy kind of was a head scratcher. It was one of the first things they did in the off season, just for $2 million. That's certainly eatable, especially if Nick Lofton is forcing his way onto the roster like he's seemingly doing. I don't know what Garrett Hampson is going to bring to the roster as much as he's fast, but he doesn't steal bases, and you kind of don't need that with Dairon Blanco potentially being a pinch runner / defensive substitution late in the game. So I'm not sure you need Garrett Hampson in that role. So I think that door is plenty open for Nick Lofton to make his case, force his way onto the roster, and who knows at this point, if he beats Garrett Hampson out for that super utility role, then maybe he is the 40-man casualty that can bring in a guy like Walter Pennington or Luis Ceza or one of these bullpen guys that need a 40-man roster spot to come open. So I absolutely think that there's a door in a reality where Nick Lofton not only makes the opening day roster in favor of Garrett Hampson, but also has plenty of plate appearances that they would want, worked his way into a lineup enough in enough places that you can absolutely justify putting him on the opening day roster. So I'm totally in on that at this point. Garrett Hampson has been striking out a ton in spring so far, which he did start pretty slow last year in 2023 for the Marlins, but eventually came back down and made it worthwhile. But I don't think he's earned that final spot by any means, and that $2 million that he's getting paid is totally eatable at this point. So we'll see how it goes, but I think there's definitely a case to be made.
Josh Kaiser is our guest, One Royal Way podcast. As we look at this, the hitters, some of them that you mentioned, I want to preface it with, a year ago at this time, I was incredibly skeptical of Bobby Witt Jr. being able to play shortstop. And all he did in the offseason was revamp his ability to play shortstop and go back from the building blocks and start over and become a fantastic elite defender in Major League Baseball, and a guy who could win a Gold Glove because of how good he is on the routine plays finally, but then also some of those highlight plays that can really get you the voting. So he did that and totally proved me wrong, and I think proved a lot of other people wrong, and proved to the Royals that he can stay at shortstop and maybe, willing to invest, some money and more money into him than maybe they would have if he'd have just been a third baseman. I bring that up and preface this question with that, in that MJ Melendez playing left field, there's the same conversation going on around him about all the work that he put in playing the outfield in the offseason and starting on just tracking the pitches and then working on angles, depth before direction, some of those things. It's just full-time outfield, and that's the main thing he's focusing on and staying with and having a full offseason. He's athletic enough to where, he could play a corner outfield. I think he's a DH that doesn't hit enough to be a DH unless he continues what he did at the end of the season last year. It's one of those spring training stories, but do you buy into the MJ is a revamped left fielder and is a guy that can play every day because of some of the stories of comparison to Bobby Witt and what MJ did in the offseason, or is this a spring training story about this guy's got a new grip and this guy's got a cool new pitch? Well, this guy's lining up on the right side of the rubber now instead of the left side, and it's totally different for him.
Yeah, I can totally see both sides of that as well. I would probably lean more towards the best shape of his life mentality or narrative or whatever you want to call that. That's how I would lean, but I think there is a case to be made. He doesn't have a ton of experience. He played all year last year in the outfield, and that is what it is. Prior to that, it wasn't much. So I can totally see where the learning curve absolutely hampers someone's ability to play the outfield. The left field, I think, should be one of the easier ones to learn. Kaufman is a little bit different monster to tackle, but he's playing half the games there. I don't know. It could take some adjusting. He is a good athlete. We'll have to see and I would love to see it again. I think I made the case last week that it's absolute BS that we can't see anything in the year of our Lord 2024. We have to wait till 2 more weeks before we get a televised game or whatever. It's bonkers that we're in this boat, but whatever. I'd like to get my eyes on it. But like I said, it's there. The Bobby Witt Jr. comparison to it is a little bit, I do wonder, because they did bring in Jose Alguacil last year that did have a lot of experience with working on infield defense, and Bobby Witt Jr. obviously credited him with a lot of the coaching that he helped during the offseason. So I haven't heard or seen anything as far as outfielding defense goes, but any experience is going to be good for MJ Melendez at this point.
Yeah, they who was it that they talked about that he has been? Oh, Reggie Sanders. They said he's received some instruction from former All-Star Reggie Sanders, which is that's fine. But as far as revamping, and it's a good point about Bobby Witt's played shortstop his whole life, and so him getting better at shortstop, it's what he's done his whole life. And MJ Melendez has been a catcher. And then all of a sudden it's okay, put away your catcher's equipment, and now you're a full-time, outfielder. Okay, well, you're doing that at the big league level. So, yeah, you can get some work before games and shagging fly balls and BP and things like that and real game action. But now you've got a full off season to where the season's over and he immediately goes and starts working on the outfield and getting a better read and things like that. So I will give the benefit of the doubt to a degree. But there's so much of a once bitten, twice shy, best shape of your life. Last year we were doing drills in the sand. Now we're flipping tires. And flipping tires is so much better than the drills. And, last year we were flipping tires. Now we've been working out in the sand. And, oh, my goodness, the agility and how quick we are with that. It has a little bit of that feel to it. But I'll give a little bit more of a benefit of the doubt just because, he's a good enough athlete. And it's not something that he, had done in his career. Josh Kaiser's our guest. We saw the right fielder for the Royals. Well, we didn't see it. Sorry about that. I've heard in the box score and reading about it that the right fielder for the Royals has made his debut. Hasn't got a hit yet, a couple of strikeouts. Bust? Mistake? Wasted money? Based on the 2 games, Josh? I'm joking, obviously.
I think we have to. I think
yes.
we have to call that a bust, and that's just wasted money. And I cannot believe that they would spend money like this. It's bonkers.
The guy's already got a back issue and hasn't got a hit in the 2 games he's played. I mean,
incredible.
The heck is going on?
Incredible.
It was nice to finally see him go out there. That they wanted to hold him out a little bit because of back tightness and stuff, and he said it was. What did he say? He was dehydrated, and that's why his back sort of cramped up a little bit, and that's why you missed 12 games, in spring training. Whatever.
Yep.
He's back. He's playing. DH'd on Friday and played right field yesterday. So at least it's good that he's going and playing, even if we don't get to see him.
Yeah, 100%. I would love to. We're going to see more of him, obviously, but.
Yeah.
I don't know how much it matters to a guy like him. He's been around long enough that he probably doesn't need the first 2 weeks of spring training to get his timing anyways. So I'm not too concerned about it. His only injury history in the past has really been lower body, legs and ankles and stuff. So he hasn't had big back issues. Eventually backs are always going to get every one of us.
Yeah.
So at some point it's inevitable. So these pro athletes that have like super cramps or whatever, dehydration can absolutely be a thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it. I am excited to see what he can do. And some of those Royals, MLB Network did their preseason preview of the Royals last night, and seeing some of the highlights that he was able to do at the plate last year, it got me so hyped to see what he can actually do in a Royals uniform this year. But totally understand where everybody's coming from but we just got to chill a little bit on that.
Yeah, I'm being a little facetious on the back thing, obviously, and you mentioned the lower body injury with that. I think it's one of those to where, honestly, if this was the regular season, he might have missed a game or two and then right back out there. It's like, all right, precaution, your back cramped up a little bit. Well, let's make sure we're spasm there. Let's make sure we're good. Next day, we're going to give you one more day off and then back at it, ready to go. It's spring training, no reason to risk anything. And like you said, he's a veteran guy who's not trying to make the club. So he's fine. He's a veteran guy that doesn't have to learn how to play right field either. So the amount of reps aren't as important to him being out there and playing. Michael Walker. There was a story from no, it wasn't Annie, but it was at MLB.com and talking about the different things with the Royals. But Matt Cotrero said the other day in Michael Walker and his two outings so far that. Sort of a bulldog on the mound, that he's going to give you everything he has. He's going to fight and compete all the time. And he called him a genuine leader. Now, I don't know if that means that other players he's called a leader before, he was just giving lip service. But he said that Michael Wacha is a genuine leader on this team in the clubhouse with those starters and other pitchers as well. I'm pumped to see him pitch because the Royals have what feels like a professional rotation out there going 1 through 5, and Michael Wacha may be getting the opening day start. We'll see if that's the case. But I thought it interesting. It stood out when I heard Cotrero say or saw that he read that he said genuine leader for Michael Wacha. I don't know if I'm making too much of that, but
No, it resonated with me too. That was the big one on mine as well. And, I mean, you look at the veterans last year, it was Jordan Lyles and Zach Greinke were your veterans in that rotation. And people were in awe of, everybody loves the Zach Greinke lore, and his career has been Hall of Fame worthy, no doubt. But you kind of wonder what his leadership style is compared to what you're paying for Michael Wacha at this point. Walker's been there as well. He's had a good career as well. But it's a mentality thing, and the bulldog and I'm not here to mess around and assess what's going on. I'm here because I believe in what's happening. I want to win, keep winning and continue my career and continue my legacy this way, and here's where I want to do it. These guys all signed fairly early in the free agent process. They chose to come to Kansas City. They saw something in that, and that is not nothing in my book. And if Michael Wacha comes in and provides that veteran leadership that was missing last year, and frankly has been missing for, I don't know, a long time, since maybe Eddie Volquez, Chris Young, and those postseason runs. That's really been missing and hampering this pitching staff, I think. So to have Matt Cotrero come out and call him the leader, a genuine leader, was not only great for me to see, but kind of reinforced what I had already thought, that he was the quote-unquote ace. He was going to get the opening day start in my book when they signed him. He was the prediction I had. but he's the veteran leadership that's been there before. He's dealt with the pressure before. He can handle an opening day start. And then hopefully Cole Reagans makes his case to be the best pitcher on this staff moving forward. And we can talk about, post All-Star break, reorganization of the rotation spot or whatever. But at this point in my mind, Michael Wacha is the quote-unquote ace.
Yeah, you mentioned Cole Reagans. I love the MLB Network had the interview with Salvi, and just talking to him about still being on the team and this team and how excited he is. And he said, thank God we traded Chapman for Cole Reagans. That's a great drop in by Salvi.
Yep.
Thank God we traded Chapman for Reagans. Yeah, I agree.
What a line.
I love it too. Salvi, it's great. And I don't know. Maybe you can win a Gold Glove at first. Got a Gold Glove at catcher, but I'm watching him play first. I'm not sure there's going to go glove in the future of Salvi at first. Let's just let the first baseman play first.
It was interesting, that part when Salvi was like, I'm the backup first baseman. That kind of caught my ear a little bit there.
That is true.
I know we've talked about Nick Prado, we've talked about Nick Lofton, and both those guys considered to be in the mix. But it is interesting that it seemed like Salvi corrected for saying, like, I'm the backup first baseman. You're kind of missing that. So that did jump out to me a little bit when he said that.
It's a little surprised, too, that they didn't know he played 20-some-odd games at first last year. But, again, they're covering the entire major leagues.
That's lots of big sample size.
They are covering the entire major leagues. And, when Salvi was playing more first base, I get it. The Royals weren't anywhere near what people cared about. So I'll give him a little bit of a break with that. Josh Kaiser, KCSN, he is hot. Start over 3-2 and 1. Josh Kaiser, KC Sports Network, with the One Royal Way podcast, the host of the podcast, One Royal Way. Josh, you're the man. Appreciate the time, sir, and thank you for the groundhog conversation and squirrels and rats.
Of course, I'm happy to bring the Josh style antics that the former he who shall not be named used to bring. So
I appreciate it.
Very happy to fill the Josh quota for 810 Sports from moving forward.
I appreciate it. We only need one Josh. So part of this show moving forward.
Just one.
Just the
there
one.
There can only be one.
That's right. Is the Josh Highlander joining us here in the zone. Josh, you're the man. Appreciate it, brother.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely. There's Josh Kaiser, KCSN, One Royal Way podcast. Great stuff there from Josh. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. Jason Kelce, as you can imagine, very, very emotional in his press conference, and we'll try to play a little bit of that. But he has been crying most of the press conference, which, again, very understandable, announcing his retirement from the NFL and his now following of the Chiefs week by week. I don't know that he said that. Those words I'm putting in his mouth. But Jason Kelce no longer playing NFL football, officially announcing the retirement, and a very emotional press conference. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. director. We'll hang out with him. We told you Jason Kelce announcing his retirement in what is a very, very emotional press conference. Here is Jason Kelce's opening statement.
Thanks for coming, guys. We'll see how long this lasts. Not a good start. There you go.
That went on for another 4 or 5 minutes. Like, honestly, just trying to get a word in and then breaking down a couple of other words, then breaking down and crying. Not really a dry eye in the place. There's also video of Travis Kelce in the room. The full, blacked out sunglasses, right? Not the sunglasses that are like, oh, you can kind of see the eyes. No, it's the black on black sunglasses where he's also, with the Kleenex and drying his eyes while his brother is up there talking. So I'm guessing not a dry eye in the house there, and maybe around Philadelphia at all, and just people that like the Kelces, the Kelce brothers in general. But so we knew it would be emotional when he announced the press conference. It would be emotional. Also, he's wearing a sleeveless shirt, so we were dead wrong about thinking that he would have a button up and he would look nice. I am so glad that he stayed true to who he is, that he did not get all dressed up for the sake of getting dressed up for this occasion. The man is wearing a sleeveless shirt to announce his retirement from the NFL.
His crying and sniffling reminded me of like when Joe's tells you they're out of burn ends.
Is that
like,
right? You have the same emotions?
I just sit there like, oh, I'll take a Z-Man, but oh. I was craving the burn ends. Oh.
Really? Here's some more from Jason Kelce a little bit after that opening.
Waiting body.
Like, honestly, like it's incredibly emotional, but it is just the first 5 minutes of the press conference was a lot of this. He's getting into a lot of stories now, telling a lot of stories of throughout his time in Philadelphia and his time growing up and his time in at Cincinnati, his time with the Eagles, Andy Reid as coach.
You know what's long? When he starts talking about Chip Kelly. When you get to the Chip Kelly era, that's when you know it's And
we're not missing it. This is still the press conference, the first few minutes of it. He's getting ready to talk again. And then he breaks down again. It's emotional, man. I can't imagine somebody whose entire life has been dedicated to one thing, and you do it at such a high level, and your body starts breaking down, and you say, "What do I've made a ton of money." He was going to retire last year. He got $14 million more dollars to come back and play this year. Not bad. And the guy goes and is just one of the best in the game. And he's retiring on his terms. I know Father Time, takes over, right, and his body is breaking down. But he's retiring on his terms because there are lots of teams in the NFL. Almost every team in the NFL would take Jason Kelce right now, including the Chiefs, by the way. I give the Chiefs like Jason Kelce wants to play one more year. All right, Creed, let's get to guard. Let's see if you can play some guard, Creed. I know that there would Chiefs may be like, Jason, we love you, but also Andy Reid may be like, hell yeah, let's do this, let's figure it out. They talk about all the time. Andy Reid's talked about no matter who the offensive line coach is. Hey, best 5 offensive linemen out there. Figure out the best 5 and then find a place for them. But I mean, the guy can still play at a high level, and the Eagles wanted him back if he was able to come back this year. But I can imagine the emotions that are going through that man who's in his late 30s, and it's like you're retiring from the only thing you've ever known. His late 30s. I'm 6 years older than he is, and it's like, I'm just at the beginning here. Just getting my feet wet. Let me spread my wings a little bit, right? Let me stretch my legs out here. And he's done. He's done playing, and everybody's crying. Donna's crying. Ed's crying. Travis Kelce is crying. Media members crying. The city of Philadelphia crying because of the emotions that Jason Kelce. You clearly know how much he loved the game. And you've got to love the game to live out his story. Because he wasn't a guy that was just 5-star out of high school, always been a can't-miss guy, goes to a big school, gets to the NFL, and it's just simply what he does. I mean, the guy was a walk-on at Cincinnati.
A walk-on running back at Cincinnati.
A walk-on, what was he, a 6th-round draft pick?
6th-rounder, yeah.
Jason Kelce. So a walk-on running back, turns himself into a pretty damn good offensive lineman at Cincinnati. 6th-round pick to the Eagles, and turns himself into consistently one of, if not the best centers in football, and grinds throughout the years to do that. His story is phenomenal, and he paved the way for Travis Kelce to have his story. Because, I think Jason probably went a long way for Travis Kelce being the more mature player he is now, as opposed to the player and the person he might be if it weren't for Jason Kelce being the guy to try to keep everybody's head on straight. We do have a clip of Jason Kelce talking about Andy Reid. Here's Jason Kelce at his press conference talking about the Chiefs head coach.
Don't forget the call I got from Andy Reid on draft day and my father rushing into the room. With tears streaming down his face as his son's dreams had just been realized. It had just been announced on TV I had been drafted by the Philadelphia Eagles. And I won't forget 2 years later, that same man and my brother receiving a call. And him being drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs. This time, the tears streaming down both my father and I's face as my brother had just realized his own.
There you go. I mean, it's still going on, by the way. It's about 40 minutes in, and he's still crying up there. Yeah. And so he's an emotional dude. Although Kelce seems to have more tears at times. Although Jason, when Kelce won the Super Bowl, Jason was crying and hugging him and everything. But yeah, I do wonder when Jason, if this entire year that Jason knew this was his last year. Because last year he thought that was his last year. About
5 years ago, he thought that. I will say a franchise record 156 consecutive games played by Jason Kelce. Last missing a game in, what was it, 2014? Jeez. If I'm not mistaken, it was 2014. Yes, 2014. And he dealt with a lot of injuries. He was doing the tush push when everyone understood that this is brutal on a center. He is a slightly undersized center. It's just incredible how he was able to stay healthy that long, put his body on the line that long, thinking he was going to hang it up years ago, winning a Super Bowl, still doing all of this. I will say maybe after this, instead of the Kelce brothers, they'll become Johnson & Johnson because no more tears, because they will not be able to cry anymore after this.
I see what you're saying.
Which, by the way, it's no more tears, which I always thought was kind of interesting. No, we get it. We get it.
No
one got that.
No, we get it. It's spelled the same but pronounced differently.
Yeah, I didn't know that until that should have been my learned.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is the S or the C silent on scent? Yeah, ponder that one. That's the aroma, the scent. What's silent, the S or the C?
Would it be the C because it's second to S, or
Well, it has to be the C because you have to vowel in there.
Why can't it be the S? The S is silent and.
Well, the E's. Well, yeah. Gotta be the C. Gotta be the C.
Maybe. We'll let you guys ponder that. More's on next. Dylan Michaels. Sterling Holmes hanging out with us here on this Monday edition of the show. We had up until 2 o'clock. Thank you to Josh Kaiser earlier in this hour, talking some Royals with Josh. And then Mick Schaefer is going to join us at 1 o'clock, KSHB 41 Sports Director. We talked a lot of college basketball in the first hour with KU and K-State both losing over the weekend. Different implications, obviously, with K-State's tournament lives on the line tomorrow night and Saturday against Iowa State. The Sunflower Showdown tomorrow. KU looking to bounce back from a couple of losses with 2 games remaining this week. K-State at home, and then they got the Houston Cougars coming up on Saturday to wrap up the regular season. Then we'll see about the Big 12 tournament, etc., and on into the NCAA tournament. Hopefully for both of these teams, that Cincinnati game was a tough one for Kansas State. The Chiefs have officially franchise tagged L'Jarius Sneed before tomorrow's deadline to officially place the franchise tag on L'Jarius Sneed. That's not a surprise. We knew that they were going to do that at some point, and it was reported last week that they had already done that, but obviously that wasn't the case, at least officially. There have been 4 teams that have reportedly been interested in L'Jarius Sneed: Detroit, Miami, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta. Now, we've also heard there were up to like 6 different teams that have shown interest. By the way, the Jason Kelce press conference is now wrapping up. It is over. So about 45 minutes of his press conference, a very emotional press conference. Jason Kelce announcing his retirement after 13 seasons in the NFL. His family there, very emotional. Mom, dad, Travis Kelce there, very emotional as well. Wife, very emotional. As Jason Kelce announcing his retirement. We played a couple of those clips in the previous segment, but that was really just him being emotional and crying. So that press conference wrapping up. But there have been reports of up to 6 teams that have been interested in L'Jarius Sneed. 4 of those being Detroit, Miami, Pittsburgh, and Atlanta that have at least been named by reporters of, hey, this team has shown interest. Shown interest is different than there are discussions going on. But we know that they're able to show interest because the Chiefs allowed L'Jarius Sneed to go out and seek a trade. And just looking at some of the draft picks for those particular teams, Miami has a second rounder at pick number 55, but they don't have a third rounder because their third rounder was forfeited. So would they be less interested in trading a second rounder for L'Jarius Sneed when they did just let Xavier Howard walk? So is that something that they're going to want to go and pay, trade and then pay L'Jarius Sneed? I know Miami's been rumored to be a part of it. I don't know that that's viable. Detroit's an interesting one because they've got 2 third-rounders, and their second-rounder might be more in line of where somebody's willing to give up a second-rounder, a late second-rounder, as opposed to like a high-end second-rounder. They've got picks 61 and 73. They've got 4 picks in the top 90. So they've got their pick at number 61 and then 2 third-rounders. 61 and 73 might, get it done for the Chiefs. Pittsburgh has the 51st pick, and Atlanta has the 43rd pick. So Atlanta might be to where you just get 1 at pick 43, and Detroit you might get 61, 73. Who knows? But I talked about it last week, Sterling, that I think the most likely scenario is that something gets done with Chris Jones in the next week, and L'Jarius Sneed is traded. Hopefully it's for at least a second rounder. And I don't think they'll get a first rounder out of some of these teams unless it's a high second rounder for a team. And Detroit's like, look, we'll give you our late first rounder for L'Jarius Sneed. I don't think that's the case, though.
I'm in the same boat right here, but something I think is a little interesting. Granted, Jalen Ramsey was already on a long-term, very expensive contract. When he was traded from the Rams to Miami, it was a third rounder. Mm-hmm. I get it. He was a year or 2 older than L'Jarius Sneed currently is, but at the same time, Jalen Ramsey was known as still the best corner in football. This is me just trying to be realistic here.
Yeah.
Do I want a first rounder? Yeah, it's not happening. Do I want a second rounder? You bet your ass I'm still a little questionable about that. Is the third rounder more in line with what the Chiefs would probably get for L'Jarius, a guy who, again, is going to want to get paid? The franchise tag is $19.8 million this year. We know that he wants to get his money. We heard on the Kay Adams show.
Yeah.
Pay me.
Pay me.
So I just question what the return is going to be. And in regards to Jalen Ramsey, that even came with the caveat that he was redoing his contract. right?
Yeah.
I know everyone wants to go back to the Frank Clark situation and what the Chiefs had to give up to bring him back here. That's also an edge rusher. Edge rushers have always historically returned more than corners. I'm just a little concerned that folks might be too enamored by, look at this, that, and the other. Look what these guys brought back. Yeah, L'Jarius might be a better player, but the positional value is just different.
Yeah, and the reports are they're looking for at least a second rounder. Well, we'll see if they can get that. Now, the position that the Chiefs are in as opposed to, let's say, the Bears and Justin Fields. The Chiefs are in a position to where they're not desperate to move L'Jarius Sneed. They don't have a franchise-altering decision to make this offseason where, Justin Fields and the rate for him is like a third-rounder right now. Like, that's what the Bears aren't trading Justin Fields for a first-rounder. And a lot of the reasoning behind that is teams are going, yeah, we know you're getting rid of him. Like, we know you're going to trade him because you're going to draft Caleb Williams. So why would I give you a high pick that, here's what, because also if I give you a first rounder, his 5th-year option is $25 million next year. He's going into year number 4. So I'm going to have to pick up that 5th-year option. So if I pick up the 5th-year option for $25 million and then, he's not that good, well, now the $25 million is sort of an albatross on my on the books. You also wouldn't be trading for him if you thought it was like a 1-year tryout. And if you're trading for him for a 1-year tryout, then you're not giving up a first rounder for him. And, Justin Fields is going for like a third, maybe a day 3 pick. Because the Bears, if they're going to trade him, it's because they have to, because they're taking Caleb Williams. Chiefs don't have to trade L'Jarius Sneed. And if you can get multiple teams interested in a guy like that feels like, all right, we're a shutdown corner away from going and competing, and taking advantage of this window, because we saw how desperate teams were a couple of years ago when the Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill, and it was Buffalo, the Chargers, the Broncos, teams going all in to catch the Chiefs. All in. This is the year. We're doing it. We're going all in. Does a team like Detroit go, you know what? This is who we're missing. A shutdown corner. We got the offense that's good enough. We got the defense that's good enough. If we had a shutdown corner there. If we had that guy, we can win the Super Bowl. Yes, we'll give up picks 61 and 73 for that. Or 73 and next year's second rounder, sure, which might be the equivalent of like a 60 or 61, which a year away draft pick is typically viewed as a round lesser. So it would be viewed as a couple third rounders, really, if you did it that way.
Based on AAV right now, Jair Alexander is the leader in the clubhouse, 21 mil. Then Denzel Ward at 20.1. L'Jarius Sneed's actually third right now based on the franchise tag. But you're getting into the $18+ million range of what he's going to be bringing back, I would have to assume.
If the Chiefs can get a second rounder for L'Jarius Sneed, then I'm doing that deal.
I think it's pretty easy. I think a second rounder, you don't think. I think you do.
Yeah.
Third rounder is when you have the question mark.
Yeah, because not only are you getting the second rounder back, you're getting the $20 million that you can spend on different places to help your team that way. You're not just losing L'Jarius Sneed and no draft pick or anything like that.
Mick Schaefer on the Zone is brought to you by Empower Payments, promising your business savings or they give you $5,000 cash. Visit empowerpayments.com today to learn more.
Monday edition of the Zone.
There we go.
Mick Schaefer hanging out with us.
We should have a Zone band.
Zone band.
Zone
the
band.
Z band.
Get some instruments in here.
Let's do it. We got some got a air bass going on.
We had
Keyboards.
Sterling on the keys.
That's right.
I'm rocking the trap set.
Yeah, that's right.
It's called a trap set back in my day. It's a drum kit now.
Yeah. Right, there's no. I didn't hear the snare. I had no snare
I was
in my
the
headphones.
trap queen, Caldwell. You know what I'm saying.
Mick Schaefer, brought to you by Empower Payments, boosting your business and charity with every transaction. Learn more at empowerpayments.com. Mick, what do you think of the Combine this weekend?
Loved it. I'm fine with it. It's good. It's fun. I mean, you see these guys out here. You've heard of some of them. You haven't heard of a lot of them. And they're grouped, obviously, by their position group. And then NFL Network does a good job of having a lot of dudes there to talk. Because you're not calling plays, really. You're just talking over this video of guys over and over again running 40s, doing 5-10 5s, doing cone drills, doing whatever. So they do it like a 3-man booth. They have people on the field and all that stuff. So there's never really a lull in the conversation. They do a really good job with it, considering what it is, which is 6 days worth of just kind of like practice.
I'm not going to lie. I was very shocked by that answer from Mick Schaefer. and here's why. In my mind, the conversation went something like this. Mick, what did you think of the Combine this weekend? I didn't. That was in my mind, that was where that conversation was going to go. So I appreciate there was actually an answer. That's very good, Mick. I like that. There were three.
I mean, I was lying to you right there. You want my real thoughts on stuff?
I didn't.
Yeah.
What did you think of the Combine?
This is
I did
done.
not.
Football season's over. Let's move on.
No!
It's hoops now.
No! Well, it's hoops, certainly.
You know what? Back in like the good old days of 2012,
back in my day.
when the Chiefs season ended before, the calendar turned over before New Year's Eve,
right.
I could pay attention to like all of conference basketball season. Nowadays, I catch the back third, maybe.
It's like, hold on, are they playing conference games already?
Already, and they're playing 18?
Hold on, this is the last week of the regular.
And
how?
Cincinnati's around a lot. What are those guys doing?
Cincinnati's in the Big 12?
What? And,
wow.
And KU loses at least once a week now?
Twice in 1 week? What the heck is that all about?
Let me tell you, as a Mizzou fan, it is great. Way less games to watch. Yes.
Yeah, to not have to watch. Yeah, that's
do you know the losing streak combined, men's and women's, what it's up to now?
Oh no,
women are a long one too.
So the men's is 16.
Mm-hmm.
Man, the women were doing well too. I don't know.
They were not. Maybe a year ago.
Well, earlier this year, didn't they?
Not earlier this calendar year. Maybe earlier this season.
Earlier this season, yeah.
Non-cons.
Non-cons, yeah. There was a game or two there that were.
And they got some. They have some nice players, and that's their. Men are underachieving. I think the women are really, really underachieving. Yeah. Haley Frank's good. Grace Slaughter. It's a 27, by the way. They've lost 11 in a row. The women have.
That's rough. It's football school, though.
What do you want? You got your 10 wins, okay?
Just means more.
Got your big bowl game.
They have combined for 2 wins in the SEC, the men and women.
Yeah, it's both women. Both games are
yes,
wins
exactly.
The Kwame Brown, Kobe Bryant stat, 81.
Yeah,
they combined for 81.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yes. What was the game that I watched earlier this year? I don't remember. Oh well, that it was a closer game at one point. So. Oh well, my son and I watched. I'm like, wow, they're playing pretty well, pretty good basketball. Okay,
yeah, they're way more competitive than the men, and they have better players than the men. But it is not going well. For
it's
Rodney
weird,
Pitchton.
like the men, man, they just find ways to lose by 5 or 6 points every time. Like they lost by 6 points to Ole Miss. It's like, man, what happened in there? Well, don't get down by 20.
Yeah. That was part of it.
They fell to they got so close there. No, they didn't. They got close in theory, but they were down 20 points, okay? Getting to within 5 or 4 is not getting close when you're down by 20.
That's what all bad teams do. Yes. All bad teams get it close and then lose. That's how it works.
It's like, well, Missouri keeps losing within 10 points. Yeah, because they're not good. Right, because they'll have a lull where, they'll have a team go on like a 15-2 run or something like that, and,
Yeah.
Then the other team will have a lull, and Missouri will knock down some threes. And it's like, oh, hey, you know what? They got some guys that can shoot, right? And they'll be streaky, but in the end of the game, they'll be losing. They'll find a way to lose it in the end. So, yeah, it's been
I don't know.
disappointing.
Has Missouri ever had this big of a dip in wins from one year to the next? Well, they have last year, like 25 wins.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I just don't think Kim Anderson lasts another year after this showing in the SEC. Right? Isn't this Kim Anderson's worst season in the SEC?
What team would win? This team or a Kim Anderson-led team? I think Kevin Puryear's given the work to anyone on
here's
this.
the thing. I saw Kim Anderson's team win games once every 16 times. I don't know that this team is finding ways to win a game. So I'll take, if you're saying who wins, insert team here or this year's team, I'll just take whatever other team.
I have no faith in Haith coming back next year. None whatsoever.
If Mike Anderson's going to take the Arkansas job after this performance, then go ahead. Whatever. But the flip side is the recruiting by Konzo Martin. He's got some guys coming in next year. Konzo's got some players.
And these allegations on Quinn Snyder, I think, are going to blow over. And
I don't think there's any issue with it whatsoever.
Yeah.
So, plus, I've seen Head of State. It's good.
I've not.
I do think it's probably about time that Norm retires. I think after this showing, maybe get some fresh blood in there, some new blood for Norm.
Can any of us go back before Norm?
I'm out.
No,
I'm
done.
I can go. Football coaches back in the 70s and 60s from Missouri. Who was the coach before Norm?
I have no idea. No idea. And
Do they have basketball or
any coach before Norm? Yes, I have no. There's no reason to look. Missouri basketball started with Norm Stewart in my mind. Did they go to a Final Four before Norm? Nope. Then it didn't matter. Didn't matter. Did they go to a Final Four with Norm? No. But it also didn't matter before Norm. Started with Storm and Norman. There you go. So anyway, the Combine. This weekend.
I was paying attention to the O-lineman yesterday because that was, I believe, the only guy from Kansas City at the Combine was in the O-lineman group, Cooper Beebe from Piper.
Yep.
I might have missed a guy that we missed the Northwestern kid from Ruskin last year. He kind of came on our radar late, but I went over it, and there were, of course, 8 or 9 Mizzou guys. Yeah. There were 4 or 5 KU and K-State guys, and so a lot of local school representatives. But as far as the high school kids go, just Cooper Beebe, who could be a very high-round pick.
Well, I was looking through like ESPN and NFL and CBS and just trying to find like the risers and fallers just to see what people thought. Like the Combine, here's what they did to the draft stock in the Combine, right, in the workouts.
Chop Robinson. That's all I've
heard. Right. There you go.
Chop.
3 local players were named, whether they're risers or fallers in either one.
Can I guess?
Yeah, if you want to, sure.
Darius Robinson Riser.
Faller.
No way, really?
Yeah.
Just because it was 40 time?
And the other sort of workouts didn't have as fluidity as some other defensive ends.
It felt like he kind of moved from D-end to D-tackle at the Combine here. Because they were listening to him as that. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. They're like, okay, this guy's 280. And it's like, well, it's one thing. 280.
He runs a flat 40.
493, whatever it was. 497, 493, 497, whatever it was that he ran. But it's like, he's moved from guy that may just be looked at as a power rusher and can slide inside. And a valuable piece, right? But that's based on the Combine. Then you watch the other things that he's done. It's like, okay, well, look what he did at the Senior Bowl. Look what he did when he was at Mizzou.
SEC season, yeah.
Yes. So he was
it's like defensive player of the week like 3 or 4 times. I feel like every other week he was
my pet peeve. It's like, okay, we saw he was great against top-end competition, but without pads for this 1 week.
Yeah.
He looked a little iffy.
The other players that were named in this were both risers. We're both increasing draft stock after the Combine.
Can you give me the schools?
Both K-State.
Both K-State.
They just love K-State.
They do. Yeah. Everybody talks K-State all the
time.
It's
that Chris Kleiman effect,
Khalid Duke?
No.
No?
It wasn't.
Was it Beebe?
Beebe was one of them.
As a riser? Okay.
Beebe was one of them as a riser to maybe move into the
I'll just say Levis. He's the only other one I can think
Sinnott.
of there. Oh, Ben Sinnott. Yeah,
Ben
he had
Sinnott.
a great 40 time.
Awesome. Yes, and the gauntlet was amazing, and his agility around. One of the things that I read, I think it might have been an ES. No, it was at NFL Network. I think it was that listed. Ben Sinnott was like moved himself after the Combine. Could be securely middle second round for Ben Sinnott. I'm like, wow. That's pretty. I thought people were going to look at Ben Sinnott and say Kyle Juszczyk. Like I thought that's what they were going to use him as. But then the combine,
taller than Juszczyk, right?
He is, but he doesn't seem like as fluid as some other tight ends. Then the combine happens and he runs that fast and he's getting in and out of drills.
He seemed fluid to me, and maybe it's just the 34 number he wears, right? It's
that's probably
not the 89. Yeah. Oh, clunky.
Stop it, Ben. Be smarter. Wear
my
a different
biggest
number.
issue with him is drops and hands had been an issue. He would have some big games and then others where he would get open and the drops would plague him. But that's an issue you can correct when football is your job, and that's all you do every day.
I know it was raining, but he had a couple of big drops against Mizzou.
Yeah, he did.
But it was raining. But he looked pretty good over the weekend.
It was raining this time? You're thinking of 2 years ago?
Was it 2 years ago?
2 years ago was in the horrible rainstorm.
We don't talk about that game.
We don't talk about the
game. We don't talk about that game 2 years ago.
So it wasn't raining, but he did have drops.
It might have been raining. I just
year.
remember the Miva's field goal at the end. It was not raining. It was.
It doesn't. But
the skies parted
for whatever reason. I just remember
it might have been at that time.
Sinnott, a couple of drops. We're like, oh, thank God he dropped that one. Yeah. From this perspective, right? Yes. Watching that one, if you're a K-State perspective, you probably didn't have that same feeling of, oh, thank God he dropped that one. That would be odd. For you to think that, unless it's some random thing where you're trying to throw an incomplete pass or something, or it's late in the game, you got like 20 seconds left, you throw a little 2-yard pass, and it's like, oh, thank God he dropped that one, or else they would have lost 10 seconds there. Oh, he dropped that one.
Connor Beebe's interesting because of the combine.
What about Cooper?
Cooper.
He does have 3 brothers. Connor might be one.
That's fine.
BB. The 503.40, but you saw the 3-cone, the short shuttle, the broad jump. He ended up with a 9.71 out of 10.
That's right.
Raw athletic score, the RAS, kind of a new school.
Math.
A lot of math going on in this, but that's just absurd.
What was his 5-10-5?
I have one.
And it might be called something else. I call it the 5-10. That might be the cone drill. I don't know. I talked to him beforehand. We did a Zoom, and he said that was his big drill because he wanted to show his agility because that was the one thing. Okay, how does he move laterally? Because he's going to be a guard, or
absolutely.
a center, but most likely a guard. That doesn't have NFL height for tackle, and so can you pull? Can you move?
The shuttle was a 4.61.
He was hoping to get like in the 4.5s.
Yep. The 3-cone was a 7.44. But like every one of his grades and the RAS is the height and weight, and then that formula with what they end up running, and then you get like a raw number out of 10 out of that. Like his 40-yard dash being a 5.03, a raw number out of 10 is a 9.42. So with his size, weight, and everything,
that's very good.
So that's very good out of.
And the 3-cone was like, I think if they had this as the 92 percentile, like just an absolute stud.
Yeah.
The only thing that was the knock against him, really outside of the height, was the arm length.
Yeah,
31.5, which is in the 9 percentile, which is not ideal.
Wow.
Yeah, the arms weren't.
Assures you will not be playing tackle.
Yes, that's probably right. And then Ben Sinnott had a pretty good day as well with his agility grade. He graded out as elite. His explosion grade graded out as elite. Height. This is where I thought he was going to be more Juszczyk, is that he's only 6 foot.
Wait, Sinnott was? Sinnott's only 6 foot?
Ben Sinnott was. Excuse me, he was 6 foot. Sorry, the way I was reading this was odd. Sorry. I was reading this. It looks like he's 6'3".
Oh yeah.
But
are there multiple?
Right. Sorry.
Ben
Sorry.
Well, because he's lifted.
But
probably
I'm like
6'4", 6'5" in college. And
right.
6'4".
Combine height 6'3". Yeah.
Because it's in the red of height for him, which red bad, green good. So. But I thought people would look at him and say, "This is
the last time the NFL had a 6 foot tight end out there?"
I don't know. I'm like, boy, that doesn't seem right. But without shoes on, maybe he was wearing, those extensions. I'm not sure. Maybe he had like a couple things in the heel to help him, get a little bit. And he's 250. But we've seen a lot of the tight ends at 6'5" or taller. The only really tight ends that have had success in the NFL that are shorter than that is like Evan Ingram, because people are talking about with Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you see these taller, bigger tight ends. Those are the ones you're seeing have success in the NFL.
Kelsey, is he legit 6'6"? I know he's
listed 6'6". Yeah, he's a legit 6'6". George Kittle, Dawson, not Dawson Knox, but
Dalton Kincaid.
Kincaid.
Yeah.
Kincaid and Evan Ingram were the ones that sort of had success by being lower than what the threshold has been. And that's where I thought people would look at Ben Sinnott and say, Juszczyk, he can, come in and play H-back. He can catch the ball. He can do a lot of different things, sort of a Swiss Army knife there. We know he can block his ass off. I mean, he's a hell of a blocker as well, which is going to help.
Those guys that run that, was he a 4.6 40, something like that?
Sinnott
4.7
was a 4.68.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guys that size, right? Even at 6'3", I mean, somebody's going to take a chance on you, take a flyer on you, put you in one of those fullback, H-back, tight end positions.
Yeah, there might be some others out there that I didn't see that were risers or fallers, but I was just looking for the local names, and those are the only three that popped up. I thought Darius Robinson would have been somebody that was a riser because he had been rising the entire time. And maybe it's because he had got so much publicity and hype heading into the combine from Senior Bowl and stuff that maybe it's like, well, this didn't really match. The numbers didn't really match the hype, but, who really cares? Also Ben Sinnott, a 40-inch vertical.
Yikes, dude.
It's a 40-inch vertical. Guy's 6'3", 250 with a 40-inch vertical.
Probably at best a 3-star that just ended up in Manhattan. Played his last 2 years? I don't remember him beyond that. Not like some sort of 4-star guy that everybody was vying over.
Freaking 6'3", 250 with a 40-inch vertical is just ridiculous, man. And I've got a 4-inch vertical, and I'm not that tall, nor I don't weigh that much.
He led all tight ends with a 6.82 3-cone drill as well.
There you go.
So getting in and out of
the
cuts.
Agility.
Yeah.
So the explosion, the agility, and the speed.
It was the number. It was the number 34.
It had to have been.
I
for
think
me.
it was actually a smart thing. Yeah. He was trying to trick people. Oh, look, that's a fullback.
He tricked me.
That's not a tight end.
If you're single digits and on the D line, that takes off 50 pounds at least.
Yeah, you're right. Darius Robinson doesn't look 280 when he's out there wearing number 9.
No, he does not at all.
It's like, this guy's he's a svelte 240. Yeah. He should play linebacker,
he doesn't
maybe.
Look 280. Well, I mean,
is this guy a safety?
Athleticism helps there, too.
But looks like a safety out there. No, it's also because Sinnott is a really good blocker. So a lot of times, like if I think of like taller tight ends or like receiving tight ends, I don't think of guys that will just pancake guys like Ben Sinnott will. So yeah,
was he an Iowa guy? Is he from Iowa?
Probably. All those tight ends come from Iowa,
and he didn't.
They either went to Iowa or they come from Iowa. I'm not really sure, but I thought that was really cool.
They vacation in Iowa.
Yeah, I thought that was really cool. So looks like he will be, a Friday draft pick.
Waterloo, boys.
There you go.
Waterloo.
They make tight ends in Iowa. Corn and Iowa.
And originally committed to South Dakota, decommitted to accept an offer at Kansas State to walk on.
Yeah, well, he was walking on the field there at the combine and walked off with a view of being one that really helped his draft stock, and NFL.com listing him as solidifying a mid-second round pick.
And it's because of necessity, right? Because where it's located, it's in Kansas, and it's not near Kansas City or even Wichita. Nobody does this like K-State does. Nobody finds these guys like K-State does.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
I feel like it just takes an extra effort. It's not like, okay, well, 24/7, and now these guys, here's our 4-star guys within our area. You go check him out. I mean, they really mine the high schools for guys like this.
It's a great recruiting tool, too. I mean, you got these guys that are like, look what we did for these guys. What we can do for you, and you're also maybe a more highly touted guy, So yeah, and I sort of talked a little bit about it with Jason Kelsey too. Like Kelsey's 13-year career, like the guy walked on at Cincinnati.
Yeah,
and was a 6th round.
He told a funny story at the Super Bowl. I was like, because both him and Travis switched positions from. He was a running back and a
Kelsey
linebacker,
was a quarterback,
and he's like, I was recruited as running back, linebacker, and I knew things were going to change when they gave me a number in the 60s. When I first got to Cincinnati, I'm like, okay, well, not playing those positions anymore.
Good third down back, right? Good pass pro.
Right.
That's right. That's right. As a running back out of the backfield. But that guy goes, and then he's a 6th-round draft pick, and he's carved out a 13-year career being one of the best centers in the NFL, just figuring it out and playing leverage and technique and the way that he was doing it. So yeah, I mean, it's you got these guys that are, can come from being lower recruited guys and turn themselves into phenomenal players. And then you've also got the draft and the combine littered with guys who were 5-star guys out of high school and just have always been the next.
And a
great
lot
thing.
of times, I mean, it helps that he was a really good athlete at running back in high school, a guy that could have played college running back somewhere. You put pounds on him, all of a sudden he takes leaps and bounds when he's playing on the offensive line.
Yep. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll get into our learned, funniest, and best. There was a couple things I was going to bring up with Mick, but that might be learned, funniest, best. I don't want to steal somebody's thunder if that's the case. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back on the other side of the break. Hanging out with Mick Schaefer, presented by Empower Payments, empowerpayments.com. We'll do learned, funniest, best next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Time for Learn Funniest Best. It's presented by Pyramid Roofing. For a free estimate, 816-966-1101 or pyramidroofingkc.com. We go around the room, things we learned from the weekend, funniest from the weekend, best from the weekend. I had a couple learns. One of the things that I learned was that Caitlin Clark, in breaking Pete Maravich's record, we know she's drawn so much attention to women's basketball, but the eclectic group of stars that were there, that Travis Scott, Nolan Ryan, and Jake from State Farm were there.
The gang's back together.
In attendance. She was able to bundle those three together and keep them entertained there at University of Iowa, taking on, Ohio State that they played. And she scored those 18 points, and she got them on a technical, which is sort of great because it was a little bit of a flop. And then she got to shoot two technicals. So there's the entire Caitlin Clark experience is that. But the video of Travis Scott.
She only flopped with fans. She does players too.
The video of Travis Scott walking in, it's like, oh, there's Travis Scott. Don't even mention the fact that he stops and shakes hands with that Jake from State Farm. And then somebody pointed out to me, it was great. He was wearing I apologize, Kyle's wife. And by the way, Kyle Juszczyk reference again. Kyle Juszczyk's wife. That made the coats for Kristen Juszczyk, that made the coats for Taylor and Brittany. He was wearing a Kristen Juszczyk coat or a vest of Caitlin Clark.
Makes men's clothes, or that's just a women's vest he's wearing?
I don't know. It was like a puffy one though. It looked like a coat with
just a women's vest.
Then. Yeah, okay. No sleeves. It was like a Jason Kelsey with the sleeveless. He went sleeveless, but he had sleeves underneath it, unlike Kelsey today. So that's one of the things I learned. I also learned in playing this song with my son in the car, the song by Will Smith and DJ Jazzy Jeff. Parents just don't understand. Hits differently when you are a parent, and that kid is listening. And I'm like, yeah, a lot of your parents understand, buddy. Your parents are different, Everett. Okay, this is somebody who's talking about parents that don't understand their kids. Your parents are different, buddy. So these lyrics and everything. You're fine with your parents.
Go rewatch The Breakfast Club. You'll come away and say, "No, I understand what the principal's saying all along." He was the biggest bad guy back in the '80s, and now no, he makes a lot of great points. These kids are idiots.
Dude, we watched my son and I. We've been watching a lot of hockey lately. So we watched roughly 6 hours worth of hockey.
Wow.
Mighty Ducks D2 and D3.
That hockey.
So we watched roughly 6 hours of hockey in the last week. But Mighty Ducks 3, when they go to like the boarding school or the high school or whatever, and the coach is like on them and wanting them to play, two-way hockey. And Charlie Conway is being a total jerk.
Yeah.
Right? And he's like, I'm the captain. And he's like, yeah, I don't care, man. You guys are supposed to do what I ask you to do. My son's like, that coach is mean. I'm like, no, actually, the coach is doing what he's supposed to. Yeah,
he's fine.
That kid's just being an AH.
Yeah.
Charlie Conway's got a little. Charlie Conway couldn't even skate. Okay, until Gordon Bombay got him. Now, 5 years later, Charlie Conway's all this big bad, like, oh, no, I deserve to go to this school. I should be on varsity, and I'm the captain. Who the hell do you think you are, former NHL player that's coaching me? Anyway, what'd you learn this weekend, Stu?
I learned to get very hungry during this show, as it's from 10 to 2. Yeah. I get very hungry.
That's what you learned?
Also, that Iceland is the only member of NATO without a standing army. Yeah.
They sit?
They have a Coast Guard. The Coast Guard.
Oh,
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Thought maybe they were just always like in cars and tanks. It's like they're. Anyway, sorry. How about that?
Yeah.
Well, that's because
Iceland's green too, and Greenland's icy.
Yeah, they
You do
kind
that
of
one
really
probably,
just.
right?
it's difficult. It
was tricky. They really Greenland really tried to trick you. They trick people to get there.
Yeah, they're in NATO, so everybody else is their army, so it's fine.
My favorite Iceland fact is that they have a dating app to let you know if you are dating a cousin of yours or not, because they don't do last names the same way that everybody else does. Right? Jason's kid will not be Anderson last name. Jason's kid would be Everett Jasonson. That's how they do it. They take your dad's name and they put son at the end. And then your daughter, Juliet, Jason's Dotier.
No,
Look them all.
what if she's Julietson?
This is all true. And so then you don't know. A lot of times you don't know your cousin's last name. Your sister's last name's different than yours, right? So your parents' last name's different.
I can never tell when he's being
I swear to God,
serious.
let's look it up. I swear it's so true.
I thought he was just saying that because everybody's last name ends with like son or like Johansson or whatever. I'm like, oh, that's a good
true,
joke.
But
good joke.
that
makes sense.
Look it up.
Yeah.
Dating app in Iceland, cousin. It's a thing.
Okay.
And because they're isolated. They have the population of Wichita over there.
Well, you know what? There's a
very
dating app
small
in
population.
there's a dating app in Arkansas called Cousin, but that's different.
Okay, this was according to CBC in 2013. Kissing cousins? ? Icelandic app warns if your date is a relative.
Yeah. That makes sense. That actually should be just
the last name thing is it can get confusing.
And the secondary headline is I don't need advertisements for golf right now. I'm trying to read this headline. Can't get to it actually. This ad is they really want me to buy something.
That wasn't my learn, by the way. That's my Iceland.
Risk of dating relatives, an embarrassing problem in a tiny country.
Yeah. It's like they have 500,000 people there. That's it.
What if that actually was your learned, and it just so happened to coincide with him learning?
It's a lot of Iceland stuff.
Iceland. I learned about
Supposedly
Iceland.
the toughest language. One of the toughest languages to learn as well.
Really?
Yeah.
Behind English?
Harder than English. English is just dumb. It's just dumb. Like they're dumb.
Do you want to know the slogan?
We're
greener than you think.
We're greener than you think. Don't come for the ice, stay for the green.
Bump the app before you bump in bed.
The app.
I thought it was Iceland's
before
slogan,
you bump with some DNA strands that shouldn't be bumping. My learned is I learned that Jerry Rice has the most receiving yards of any player ever over the age of 40 at over 2,000 yards, right? Do you know who's second on that list?
Over the age of 40, second.
Receiving yards.
Tom Brady.
With 6.
No way.
Second on that list. Nice
Well
pull.
done.
Well
nice
done.
job, Stu. Tom Brady. That's an amazing
6.
stat.
I think they're the only 2 in that category, by the way.
Oh, man.
It's like 2,100 to 6, and it's Tom Brady.
Wow.
With 6.
That's a great
silver
pull,
medal.
Hey, yeah.
Very silver. Very silver.
He's not used to getting second, so you might want to
That's right.
unretire and break that.
See if you can get there. He's right around the corner. Just a couple of games away.
One spot away, Jason.
Yeah,
It's like one spot away.
It's like Greinke trying to get to, 3,000 strikeouts, whatever it is. I don't even know how many strikeouts it is that he's trying to get to. Not 3,000, I don't
Where's
think.
he at?
God, how many
300,
not close,
was
I
it
think.
300 wins? He got 3,000
No,
strikeouts.
He's not.
He got 3,000 last year.
Was that 3,000 last year?
I think it was even it was like something crazy unique strikeouts too. It was nuts. No, you're right. You're right. He's 21 away from strikeouts.
He had struck out like 1,000 unique players or something like that.
That was last year.
Yeah.
But
he is 21 strikeouts away from 3,000.
There it
We'll
is.
get there.
Got it right
there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. He might come back with the 21 strikeouts.
Who's he with?
Nobody.
Okay.
He's getting on
That's
that
3
app.
games. Bring him back for 3 games.
Well,
Not anymore. That's about 21 games.
yeah.
For Greinke?
There have been some rougher games, but,
He'll strike guys out, but then he'll give up like 3 bombs.
that's fine. A lot of teams that can use that. All right, Dylan, what'd you learn?
So I learned what it's like, or what it sounds like, if your golf game was on television and you 6-putted. There was
this is
a
great.
guy. His name was Thomas Dietrich. I'm sure I butchered that name, but here's
Not
the
gonna-
call
not gonna
on
work here anymore.
his 6-putt.
Here's Thomas Dietrich a little bit earlier at the 6th. He's putting for par. He's 4 over par. Now keep watching here, Brett, and see what happens here. This is a concentration issue.
Yeah.
A 4-over par late on a Friday issue. That's 3.
Oh, no. All of these apply to anyone's golf.
Hold on, here we go. Oh, yeah. Didn't pay attention to that one, and he finally brushes that one home.
Brushes it home.
Brushes.
What did he
Sinks it.
Did he 5-putt there?
Yes.
6-putt. I
Yes.
thought you said right.
Basically, every time they were like, oh, basically in that
Oh, it
audio.
was bad.
6-putt from 8 feet away.
A lot of lipped out too. Like it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was some unlucky.
Oh, and
situations
then a couple
too.
of them, it lip out and go right downhill.
Yeah.
And like gain momentum there.
Well, some of it.
I've never missed any putts that short.
Because you pick them up.
Bing. You can.
Some of it was unlucky, but also he did the whole. I'm just going to hit it. I'm not even going to line it up. Just going to hit it. Oh, I missed it by a half inch here.
That's
Well,
frustration.
yeah, because he's not lining it up.
That was the most relatable part. That's why
Yes.
I said it sounds like what your golf game would sound like if it was
100%.
commentated upon on a Sunday.
Only difference for me, I would be hitting some of those before they stopped.
That's
They'd still be
right, still
rolling.
rolling.
The Phil
Let's just go.
Mickelson. The Phil just. I'm not stopping. That ball's-
John Daly was good at that. Yeah.
And he was already eliminated, right? He was already
wasn't
well,
gonna make the cut,
well
yeah.
off the cut. Yeah. All right, we start with Stu and the funniest from the weekend.
Yeah, also golf related, and it's not for me. This is funniest for everyone else who was watching me. Tried to play golf yesterday in that wind. Yeah, I played at Creekmore. Great course, love it, but it's also the highest point of Cass County.
Oh, how about that?
Yeah, you don't want to play the highest point of Cass County.
Also
when
like
it's,
a 650-yard par 5 there too. 9, hold 9.
Oh yeah, it was. We played from the greens, which we're idiots. Why would we play from?
Is that the tips?
One ups from the tips. It was a 6,800, 6,850 in that wind.
The length of the course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it was long, but yeah, it was 619. I think was the par 5 into the wind. By the way.
Oh yeah, it's was the south wind yesterday.
Yeah, it was because the par
Good
4
luck with that.
the par 5 that was 500, driver 8 iron.
Oh,
Easy.
look at you. Easy.
Par 4 that was 404, driver 4 iron, short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think those are flipped. So
He's going to get 4 iron first.
I think he hit driver 4 iron on the previous one, and it was still short.
Well, one was
It
a
was
par
the wind.
5.
We had
It
the
was
par
wind.
5.
Yeah, I know that's what I'm saying.
I 3-putted if that helps anyone too. That was an easy par.
I 6-putted. Mick, what was the funniest for you?
Just looking at Amarius Mims around other normal-sized humans. He's like a Philistine.
So great. It's so great, dude.
I mean,
He's so big.
6'8", 340 pounds. And what was it? His shuttle drill was like a 4.3 or something like that. He can move for his size. Just seeing him standing next to those people at the combine, it's like, this man is from another planet.
Unreal.
And so that was just hilarious, just seeing him in any sort of normal situation, not around other like tall football players and big football players.
Around smaller, regular people.
Yes.
Just those people are just like me and you. Dylan, what was the funniest?
The funniest for me, if you guys, I don't know if you saw the Joey Molinaro Mahomes impression that he debuted this weekend at the Combine.
He's pretty good, dude.
It's amazing, and this might bring Andy Reid to the forefront. He might have to respond because it's probably one of the best I've seen.
The process of the Mahomes that you got here.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much I just took, like, where you go, you have Al Michaels, who's kind of more like down here, he's kind of more like down here, and then I just took it up a little bit, so pretty much, like, I'm good to go. I hang out with Taylor Swift now. If Coach Reid, all he really wants me to do is throw touchdown passes and bring him chicken nuggets, so pretty much that's it, and I'm good to go, Rich.
That's not bad.
That's the best.
Who is this guy?
Joey Molinaro.
Okay.
He does Saban and Collinsworth as well.
Oh, the blonde-haired kid. Yeah, I've seen him.
Big Steelers fan. Yeah, he's pretty good. My funniest from the weekend, well, there was a few of them, but the one I'm going to use is from Saturday Night Live. Sydney Sweeney had, she hosted Saturday Night Live. But there are the rumors of...
Yes, she did.
She did. That is true. That's a fact or fiction. Fact. There are rumors in the movie Anyone But You of her and Glenn Powell. Well, Sydney Sweeney is engaged. She has a fiance. And so...
Is it Glenn Powell?
It is not. But in her opening monologue, she was talking about that, and she's like, I know the rumors are out there, but they're not true. My fiance is actually here with me, supporting me. He's in the audience. Please show him. And it cut to Glenn Powell. And he looked at her, he's like, oh, what? Sorry? She's like, no, not him. My fiance is here. He is really here with me. I thought that was pretty good. All right, the best from the weekend, Mick, we start with you.
Shout out to the Roos. Roo up, baby.
Yes.
Pouch of Ouch is bouncing these days. They are the 2 seed. They finished tied for second in the Summit League this year. They have won 6 straight games. in those 6, one of those wins has been over South Dakota State, who is the number 1 seed.
Host.
This is a team that can beat anybody in their league, and I don't know if I've ever said that about UMKC. It's been a long time. If we have, this might be the best chance they've ever had to make an NCAA tournament. They got to win 3 games. That's it. Just 3 games. They're playing crappy Denver team first, and then another team they should be able to beat after that in North Dakota or Omaha after that, and then it's basically beat South Dakota State. You can go dancing.
It'll be a true road game, though, because it is hosted
it's in Sioux
by,
Falls, right?
It's hosted by South Dakota State, so it will be a true road game, but they can do it. They've beat them already, so just get there.
Well,
just get there.
Is it in?
I think it's
in Sioux Falls. South Dakota State's in Brookings.
I thought it was at their home arena. So is it? But it's just in South Dakota.
Yeah, it's in South Dakota. It's close.
Yeah, that's
everything in South Dakota and North Dakota, civilization-wise, is like on the east side, right?
They got basically. Boy, you ain't wrong.
Right up I-29.
Sure as hell ain't in the middle. All right, the best for you, Dylan.
Best for me was Chris Ballard's KU shirt. It looked like the $10 to $15 KU shirt you could buy anywhere when his son plays on the team. But it's awesome. It was Circus font. It made the NFL Network stream as well, so it was pretty cool.
That's great. Circus font, not the Comic Sans of one Cleveland Cavs owner. My best was, well, it was the record for the 40 that was broken over the weekend. Here's how it sounded on NFL Network with Xavier Worthy.
I've never heard a crowd groan over a whistle.
Yeah, Mark took some heat there.
Okay, so let's set it up again.
Take your time, man. You're chasing a record. Don't rush this thing here.
An unofficial 4.25 in his first run, and he's going to run it again to try and get John Ross's 4.22. Here he goes. Oh!
Keep going. He might just keep running right out of the stadium.
The roar of the crowd.
That is awesome.
He just kept running around. Didn't stop.
J.J. McCarthy and Roman Wilson greet him. A 4.22 unofficial.
They rolled that back.
Yep.
John Ross, wherever you are.
No idea, actually, wherever he is. At one point, he was with the Chiefs practice
for
squad.
6 minutes.
It was 4.22 unofficial. The official was 4.21. So he now the fastest recorded combine 40-yard dash. And it also goes along with learned. I learned that there are 3 players tied for the top 5 for fifth in the fastest. And out of those 7 players, 4 of the 7 have come in the last 2 combines.
Is Darius Hayward-Bay in there?
Darius Hayward-Bay is not in that list.
It's
not in the top 15.
It's a who isn't, basically. Last night, Soren read it on Sound Off.
Oh,
the
really?
Top 15. You have John Ross, who is kind of a bust, right? Chris Johnson was good.
Yeah, Kalen Barnes, cornerback. Chris Johnson, Dree Archer. Tariq Woolen.
Jerome Mathis. Hampton.
Right. Henry Ruggs.
Marquise Goodwin, remember him from Texas.
Yeah. J.J. Nelson's 10th.
Stanford Rout. Tyrone Calico.
What about Jalen Myrick?
Jalen Myrick. J.J. Nelson. Yeah. Jacoby Ford. Clemson. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, it doesn't exactly always equal success.
Nate Wiggins this year got into the top 10.
The Raiders drafted all of those guys. It's crazy. Yeah.
Every single one of them.
That's why I said Darius Hayward-Bay. I figured I had him.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe at one point he was on this list. There. All right, best for you, Stu.
Royals are 8-3 in spring training.
All right.
MJ Melendez and Bobby Witt Jr. hit a bomb yesterday. And I am so ready to get tricked and hurt by a great spring training. Like, I am all the way in. I am more juiced than Barry Bonds, allegedly.
No, he was
more juiced than Barry Bonds.
I will say this is the best, and they're only throwing 1, 2, 3 innings so far. The best the starters have looked in a long time at the infancy of the season early on in spring training. Walk another good outing yesterday.
I'm not paying for lunch this year, so I'm not.
You say that, but you'll get in the moment. You'll get in the moment. I'll go 88 wins. Yeah.
I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah.
All right. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. Learn Funniest Best presented by Pyramid Roofing. More Zone right after this. little bit like the XFL. Everybody's going to line up on the kicking team from the 40-yard line of the opposing team. The receiving team will line up at the 35. The ball has to get to the 20-yard line before anybody can move. If the ball goes into the end zone in the air, the receiving team gets the ball at the 35-yard line. If the ball bounces into the end zone, the receiving team gets the ball at the 20-yard line. If the ball lands before the 20-yard line, the receiving team gets the ball at the 40-yard line.
I hate it. I hate everything about it. We're trying so hard just to be different and just how it was.
They're going to go from no kickoff returns to now every single return.
Yeah.
Every of the kickoffs are going to be returned.
Every of the kickoffs.
Yes. Also onside kicks. We'll see.